But आजकल with the help of social media, things are changing very rapidly also. Because of social media, people they know, मतलब still relatively they are more aware. तो चीज़ें काफ़ी fast change हो रही हैं उस हिसाब से with respect to rural areas. Right. So now we begin a very boring topic. Right. मैं जानबूझ के नहीं बताया ताकि आप लोग क्लास में तब भी आओ. ठीक है. So basically the topic is East India Company administration, right? So the structure that we have discussed so far is that there was decline of the Mughal rule, then there was a rise of the regional powers. Within that regional power, we saw that how Marathas they rose. Then we saw that how Marathas they could not fill the power vacuum, they could not become the all India power. So therefore, the Game of Thrones seat was empty, which was occupied by the East India Company. So therefore, there we saw that how with the indirect support of the British state, this company was able to establish itself as a company state, and we discussed the different wars it has fought. After it has done conquest, rules always begins after conquest. Always remember these very, very basic points which the books don't tell. Rule always begins after conquest. In fact, in world history also there is a concept of absentee colonialism. For example, Portuguese was not present in Angola on the ground. Yes, Angola was a colony of the Portuguese, but on the ground Portuguese they were not present. Militarily they will control it, and they will do mining, they will do rubber extraction, right? But otherwise they are not present on the ground, they are not setting up schools, colleges, they are not bringing all of these Indian Councils Acts, etc., or the Charter Acts, etc., that we are bringing. So therefore, in that sense, in very fair sense, if we compare the Britishers with the French, or if we compare the Britishers with the Portuguese, we were better off, right? Britishers, they were negative, definitely they were negative for us, super negative for us, but French or the Portuguese, especially the Portuguese, they would have been double negative if they had been the rulers, right? So therefore, there was not absentee colonialism. Absentee sovereignty is different. Absentee sovereignty means the sovereign power is absent, but उसने अपना class monitor, उसने अपना agent, उसने अपना manager East India Company तो इंडिया में छोड़ा ना. Absentee colonialism is that none of the colonial power, ना ही तो colonial power खुद, ना ही उसका agent, neither the colonial power nor any of its agent is ruling in the colony. That is the concept of world history, absentee colonialism, right? So therefore, now we are going to basically discuss that how the East India Company started ruling. So we also discussed after the conquest, we started discussing the rule, right? Then we also discussed what was the relationship between the apparatus of rule, that is भाई ये गवर्नर जनरल ऑफ बंगाल है कौन, इसकी पावर्स क्या हैं, एंड देयरफॉर टू अंडरस्टैंड ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स, दैट बोर्ड ऑफ कंट्रोल क्या है, प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ बोर्ड ऑफ कंट्रोल की पावर क्या है, टू अंडरस्टैंड ऑल ऑफ दोज थिंग्स वी डिस्कस द पिट्स इंडिया एक्ट एंड अंटिल 1858 एटसेट्रा वी डिस्कस्ड, राइट? नाउ वी डिस्कस द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, दैट इज व्हाट काइंड ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन डिड द ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी एस्टैब्लिश्ड, right? So topic उतना interesting नहीं है. Here we'll be discussing judiciary, here we'll be discussing somewhat civil services, we'll be discussing the police services, right? तो उस प्रकार से है. So so write down. First heading write down. Heading is EIC administration. EIC administration and पहले judiciary discuss करेंगे. EIC administration. First subheading of this heading, judiciary. Right, judiciary, right? So what is the theme, right? So first of all, we need to understand the basic structure, right? That is what was the system of judiciary that existed before the Britishers they came, right? So therefore there used to be this, the top court used to be Sadar Diwani Adalat. Sadar Diwani Adalat. So this was at the province level, right? At the province level, it was the top court. It was the top court. And at the district level, there used to be what you call as Diwani Adalat. And this system was for civil law. That is, these were the civil courts. there can be civilian disputes and there can be criminal disputes. Whenever any crime takes place, it is criminal, and whenever any, for example, property dispute takes place, marriage related dispute takes place, or other kind of dispute takes place, किसी ने लोन लिया, लोन वापस नहीं किया, that is defaulting on the loan, etc. ये सब civilian cases होते हैं, right? So they are called diwani. So you should not confuse, because here diwani not just means revenue, it also means property, it also means it's all the civilian aspects are included. राइट, मैरिज, डिवोर्स एटसेट्रा, ये सब भी यहाँ पे दीवानी के अंडर आ रहा है. वहाँ पे व्हेन वी डिस्कस डुअल गवर्नमेंट, देयर दीवानी ओनली मेंट रेवेन्यू, राइट. सो देयरफॉर दिस इज देयर, एंड द क्रिमिनल कोड स्ट्रक्चर वाज दिस, दैट देयर वाज दिस सदर निजामत अदालत. सो देयर वाज दिस सदर निजामत अदालत, एंड हियर इट वाज कॉल्ड फौजदारी अदालत, or they were also known as Nizamat Adalat, right? So therefore Faujdari or Nizamat Adalat, Sadar Nizamat Adalat. So like you have the word Supreme Court, similarly Sadar. So Sadar you can think like it is a replacement, at least in the meaning sense, practical sense, it means the replacement of the word Supreme, right? So 3-tiered structure we have today: Supreme Court, High Court, District Court. उस time पे सिर्फ 2-tier structure होता था, that is a lower court at the district level and the top court. Right, so therefore this is structure which is present. Apart from this, so this is civil law, this is criminal law. Now the rule was Mughal rule, the rule was Mughal rule, and therefore in this particular domain of crime, it does not matter whether a crime is conducted by a Hindu or it is conducted by a Muslim, or it is conducted against a Hindu or it is conducted against a Muslim. Law and order is law and order. When you become an IPS officer, you will not be thinking that whether this particular person is from a particular caste or from a particular religion, right? Crime, it is a crime, chahe koi bhi kare. And because Mughals, they were Islamic state, therefore in this particular domain they used to apply Islamic law. So therefore judges, they are working on the basis of which law? Islamic law. हर जज को एक कानून के बेसिस पे काम करना पड़ता है. Every judge needs to work on the basis of some law. So therefore the law which is in operation here is the Islamic law. Why? It does not matter which religion you belong to. If you have committed a crime, you have committed a crime. इस बात से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Then why Islamic law? Because they are Islamic state. They believe in Islam. That's why, right? So therefore, which particular law operated? The law that operated here was Islamic law. The law that operated here was Islamic law. But in this particular case, situation is different. Why? Because here family disputes are there. Property related disputes, for example, which are related to what you call as inheritance. So if it is a Hindu family, then marriages, all of these things, they are determined by religion. And if you are a Muslim family, then the Muslim religion will determine that whether any talaq is valid, whether any talaq is not valid, whether any marriage is valid or not, etc. Plus property, inheritance, transfer of property from father to son, right? So these kind of scenario. If husband has died, then should women have any right to property? These all things, they are determined by the respective law of the community, and therefore here the law will be both. That is either Hindu law or Islamic law, depending on who is the petitioner. Either Hindu law or Islamic law. अब इंटर रिलीजन मैरिज एटसेट्रा वैसे तो होते नहीं, बट अगर होंगे तो उस केस में फिर प्रॉब्ली अ कमिटी ऑफ बोथ अ पंडित एज वेल एज अ मौलवी विल बी फॉर्म्ड, राइट? नाउ हु इज द जज? Judge is basically an expert in law. You expect that a judge would be an even better expert compared to a lawyer. That is why judge is here. The lawyers, both the lawyers are arguing. Judgment is given by the judge. That means you expect that the judge will be even better at law compared to any lawyer. So therefore, judge has to be expert of law, है ना? So therefore, who will be expert of Hindu law? A pandit. And who will be expert of a Muslim law? Maulvi, या फिर Qazi, Mufti, these kind of words, right? So therefore, in this particular scenario, who is the judge? In all of these things, ठीक है? अच्छा, at this particular level, the judge used to be, right? Either it will be a pandit or it will be a Maulvi. Right? And in this particular scenario, the judge, which law is there? Islamic law. So it has to be, तो यहाँ पे काजी और मुफ्ती बोलते हैं. So what is the difference between काजी and मुफ्ती? Qazi is like the judge and mufti is the opinion giver, that he is a scholar on that particular subject, right? So जैसे मियाँ बीवी राजी क्या करेगा काजी, right? He is the decision maker with respect to marriage, He can declare a marriage as legal or illegal, right? So therefore, that is Qazi. Whereas you might have heard about a concept called amicus curiae. For example, any court case comes on cryptocurrency, and the judges, they do not know what is C of cryptocurrency and what is Y of cryptocurrency. Na शुरुआत पता है ना end पता है. So therefore, at that particular point of time, because it is a very specialized subject, they might appoint an amicus curiae who will guide the judges, tell them in simple words that this is cryptocurrency, this is the issue, etc., etc. So therefore, Mufti is basically that amicus curiae who is an expert on the Islamic law, and he gives his deep opinions, and ultimately Qazi analyzes those opinions and gives a judgment, right? So therefore, here the Qazi and Mufti, they are the judges. Qazi and Mufti, they work together. दो लोग काम करेंगे. They are the judges. They are the judge, right? Whereas the Sadr Diwani Adalat as well as the Sadr Nizamat Adalat, they were both headed by. There is no concept of separation of power when there is no democracy, right? So therefore, in the case of Marathas, we discussed who is the Chief Justice, the Peshwa, when the rule of Peshwa is there. Here, on the behalf of Nawab, his right-hand man called Deputy Subadar used to function, right? So therefore, it was headed by Deputy Subadar. Deputy Subadar, who is also called Naib Nazim. Naib means deputy, Nazim means Subadar. So Nazim slash Subadar slash Nawab of a Suba, right? All of these are same things. Naib simply means deputy and Nazim simply means Subadar. So therefore, it's a synonym, right? So they were headed by Naib Nazim. So who is the Chief Justice? Naib Nazim or Deputy Subadar. And at the district level, who is the judge? Either a Pandit or Maulvi, or in this particular ceremony, Qazi Mufti. So what is the difference between Qazi, Mufti and Maulvi? Maulवी मतलब वो मुझे को नहीं पता, वो एक बार सर्च करना पड़ेगा. बुक्स में नहीं लिखा हुआ था तो मैं कंफ्यूज हुआ कि काजी और मुफ्ती के बीच में फ़र्क क्या होता है. बहुत सारे इंटरनेट सर्च किया तो फिर वहाँ पे जाके ये पता चला जो मैंने आपको काजी और मुफ्ती के बारे में बताया है. ठीक है, तो ये इंडिपेंडेंट ऐसा थोड़ा सा ढूंढ के पता चला. अब मौलवी और काजी मुफ्ती के बीच क्या फ़र्क है आप ढूंढ लेना यार, है ना, थोड़ा सा साथ साथ में काम कर लेते हैं, है ना. बाकी ले दे के ये है दैट दोज हु आर मेन ऑफ रिलीजन, दोज हु आर रिलीजियस मैन, दे आर द पीपल हु आर द जजेस, एज सिंपल एज दैट, राइट. So this is structure which is in operation. This structure which is in operation during the Mughal times. Another component was there. तो इसको आप पहले बना लो फिर उसका लिखेंगे. So please write down. इसको बनाओ. बना लिया सबने? हाँ तो बनाओ फिर. आज तेजी से काम कर रहे हो तुम. वैसे तो नहीं करते. ठीक है. कल तो जो बोर्ड कंप्लीट हो गया था तब तुमने कलम उठाई थी. लिख लिया? डन? तेजी से लिखो. राइट. सो सिविल कोड, क्रिमिनल कोड. राइट. टुडे फॉर एग्जांपल इन दिल्ली there is a separate civil court and separate criminal court at the district level. जो क्रिमिनल कोर्ट होता है उसको सेशन कोर्ट कहते हैं, उसके जज को सेशन जज कहते हैं, राइट. और बाकी नॉर्मल सिविल कोर्ट वाले को मजिस्ट्रेट कह देते हैं, राइट. बट एट द हाई कोर्ट लेवल, हाई कोर्ट इज सर्विंग एज अ कॉमन सिविल एंड क्रिमिनल कोर्ट. हाँ मतलब यही है, ये चीफ जस्टिस है, ही इज अ चीफ जस्टिस. दोनों का बोथ हेडेड बाय, लिख लो आप, बोथ हेडेड बाय Deputy Subadar or Naib Nazim. Obviously, he can always have expert opinion of Pandits and Maulvis or Muftis, right? But ultimately, his decision is the final decision. So he's the Chief Justice. Yeah, this is the Mughal system. वो तो करेंगे ना अभी, तभी तो तुम बैठे हो यहाँ में और मैं पढ़ा रहा हूँ. हाँ, डेप्यूटी माने नाइब, सूबादार इज इक्वल टू नवाब इज इक्वल टू नाजिम, और हैदराबाद के केस में निजाम. ठीक है ना. गवर्नर, इंग्लिश वर्ड गवर्नर, गवर्नर इज इक्वल टू सूबादार इज इक्वल टू नाजिम इज इक्वल टू नवाब. ठीक. इनका ऑर्डर ये ओवरटर्न कर देगा, इसका ऑर्डर कौन ओवरटर्न करेगा? मतलब वो तो डेप्यूटी सूबादार जो है वो नवाब के, ऑब्वियसली मर्सी पिटीशन टाइप का कुछ होता होगा, बट अदरवाइज ही इज एक्टिंग ऑन द बिहाफ ऑफ नवाब, राइट. सो देयरफॉर दिस इज स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ जुडिशरी इन बंगाल. सो फिगर में राइट डाउन, फिगर जुडिशरी, फिगर जुडिशरी ड्यूरिंग Mughal rule in Bengal, during Mughal rule in Bengal, during Mughal rule in Bengal. Figure judiciary during Mughal rule in Bengal, during Mughal rule in Bengal. Right. Next point, write down. Focus of justice system. Focus of justice system was on compromise. Focus of justice system was on compromise between two parties. Focus of justice system was on compromise between two parties and not on punishment. Focus of justice system was on compromise between two parties and not on punishment. And not on punishment. What is the meaning of this? Meaning of this is simple. For example, up today, if any crime takes place, then punishment has to be given. If any crime takes place, the person, you know, who is a victim of crime, he cannot say, "कोई नहीं ठीक है, हमारी settlement हो गई." Many of the crimes, for example, if a murder takes place, right? So therefore, father of that particular person or brother of that particular person, right? He or any other family member, he cannot say, "चलो ठीक है, जान दो." No, no. That's why in most of the criminal cases, which are the two parties? Mr. X versus state. State is a party. You have committed a crime against the state, not an individual, because state is a protector of law and order, है ना. इसी वजह से वर्सेस स्टेट होता है, कभी भी आप देख लेना, ठीक है. नेम ऑफ द केस, लीगल नेम ऑफ केस, अब कुछ भी देख लेना आप. आरुषि मर्डर केस देख लो, श्रद्धा मर्डर केस देख लो, ठीक है, कोई सा भी मर्डर केस देख लो, ठीक है. सो देयरफॉर समथिंग वर्सेस स्टेट रहेगा, ठीक है. दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो, राइट. तो बट द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ फॉर एग्जांपल ब्लड मनी, राइट, कि फाइन चलो ठीक है हम सेटलमेंट कर लेते हैं, राइट. फोकस कॉम्प्रोमाइज पर था, ठीक है. इन जनरल नॉट जस्ट दिस मर्डर एटसेट्रा, बट इन जनरल अगर कोई भी चीज है तो इशू फोकस वाज नॉट कि नहीं लॉ अब तो हो गया वायलेट, नाउ आई हैव टू गिव यू पनिशमेंट. That kind of scenario was not there. If the two parties are ready to settle the dispute by giving some money or whatever means, right? So therefore, focus was on compromise. This is like one of the points. Basically, we are trying to say कि rule of law, एक rule of law जो होता है, उसका modern kind of thing, it is not there, right? Rule of law is not there. Anyways, another point, write down. British argued that there was absence of rule of law. British argued that there was absence of rule of law. British argued that there was absence of rule of law and equality before law. Absence of rule of law, that is absence of law, and की जगह that is कर लो. There was absence of rule of law, that is equality before law and uniform application. Equality before law and uniform application of law and uniform application of law as pandits and Maulvis, as pandits and Maulvis interpreted the religious laws differently in different cases. Differently in different cases. Differently in different cases. Plus background of the party to the case, background of the party to the case, had an influence on interpretation and application of law, on interpretation and application of law, on interpretation and application of law. हिमांशु शर्मा इज आस्किंग सर सदर निजामत अदालत में ओनली मुस्लिम्स के फेवर में डिसीजन होगा क्या? क्यों? ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. If the Islamic law is saying that punishment for murder is death, so it is death. How does it matter that whether a Hindu committed that particular act or a Muslim committed that particular act? Right. So books, they do not, all the books, they do not talk about any kind of such selective application. Right. So therefore this kind of scenario. औरंगजेब के केस में था ऐसा, तो बदनामी होती है औरंगजेब की, औरंगजेब के खिलाफ नेगेटिव में चीज़ें लिखी जाती हैं, बट अदरवाइज ऐसा नहीं था. राइट. दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो इट इज देयर. राइट. सो उसके अलावा राइट, तो ऐसा है. दिस इज अ सिस्टम. नाउ व्हाट हैपेंस? नाउ कम्स द डुअल गवर्नमेंट. राइट. दैट इज इन 1757 रूल डज नॉट बिगिन, ओनली कॉन्क्वेस्ट हैपेंस. Military control of Bengal takes place in 1757, Battle of Plassey. It is through the Battle of Buxar 1764 and the Treaty of Allahabad 1765 that East India Company becomes a ruler. But that is also in the case of Diwan, that means in the case of revenue. Right. So fine, because it has revenue, it is possible that matters or court cases which are related to revenue related disputes, there the East India Company can have a role. But we all know that from 1765 to 1772, dual government is there, but it is only legally. It is only on paper. On the ground, Indian administration continued to do everything. Mohammad Reza Khan, Deputy Subadar, was appointed also as Diwan of East India Company by the East India Company. That means on the ground nothing changed until 1772. On paper, East India Company became half the ruler in 1765, but on the ground in 1765, East India Company was not a ruler. In 1772, East India Company took over both Diwani as well as Nizamat. That means it established its direct rule. It established its direct rule, and now certain changes will take place. Who is the Governor of Bengal in 1772, and from 1773 Governor General of Bengal? Warren Hastings, 7385, was the first GG Bengal. Right. So in 1772 he will apply a system which will continue in 1773 also. So for the purpose of simplicity, let us call him, क्योंकि एक ही साल का फर्क है या कुछ महीने का फर्क होगा. That's why in 1772 itself let us call him GG Bengal. He became GG Bengal in 1773. ठीक है. But because we are talking operation of that system across multiple years, so fine, let us call him GG Bengal. So what happened? Deputy Subadar or Naim Nazim was removed as the Chief Justice of these two top courts, and the place was taken over by Governor General of Bengal. Now are you able to understand what we discussed, the conflict in jurisdiction of Supreme Court of Calcutta versus GG Bengal? Because GG Bengal is proper Chief Justice, and then you have also brought Supreme Court at Calcutta. Right. So this system came in 1772 itself. He is being replaced by Governor General of Bengal and his council members. So 4 council members were there, 2 council members plus GG Bengal, they will be the judges here. Rest of the 2 council members and GG Bengal, they will be the judges here. This kind of scenario. Right. At the ground level, in the civil court matters, the European District Collector, that is the British IAS officer of the East India Company, he is made a judge. So therefore you are an IAS officer plus you are also a judge. Right. So therefore he is a judge. However, we know that he does not, however we know that there is operation of which ideology? Until 1813 which ideology operates? Orientalism. That means rule India the Indian way. In the domain of law, the Indian way is Hindu law and Islamic law. So therefore ruler has become Firangi in the district court. Ruler has become Firangi in the district court, but he will implement which law? Hindu law or the Islamic law? He might not be an expert yet, although Labasna mein training hui uski, but he might not be a proper expert. So therefore he will be taking advice of Pandits and Maulvis. So therefore, who will become the judge here? European DC, that is the British district collector or DM, DC or DM, एक ही बात है, assisted by Pandits and Maulvis. Like here, Qazi was assisted by Mufti. Here, European DC or British IS officer assisted by Pandits and Maulvis. Logic is simple. They want to rule India the India way, and therefore they are continuing with the Islamic law and the Hindu law. But commonsensically, they cannot be that kind of an expert in that law like the Pandits and the Maulvis. Right? क्या खा रहे हो? खा लो फिर. देखो, तुम बड़े नौसिखी हो. स्कूल में बहुत पिटते होगे तुम. नहीं पिटते थे तो स्कूल में फिर ऐसी बदमाशी भी नहीं करते होगे तुम. मग्गू थे ना तुम स्कूल में. टॉपर आते थे. क्या रैंक आती तुम्हारे स्कूल में? पीछे वाली. तो ना तुम गुंडे हो ना तुम पढ़ाकू हो. ठीक है. टॉफी अगर खानी हो क्लास में तो तुरंत काम करना चाहिए. एक्सपीरियंस बता रहा हूं, क्योंकि धीरे धीरे काटने की कोशिश करोगे ना, वो आवाज उतनी करेगी. नॉइज विल बी दैट मच ओनली. तो किट 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 किट, इससे अच्छा क्लिक खत्म. ठीक है, ऐसा. ठीक है, टॉफी भी खानी है, ऐसे समझो थोड़ा, ऐसे थोड़ा स्मार्ट, स्ट्रीट स्मार्ट बनो. ठीक है. इन द केस ऑफ द क्राइम, crimes they are very sensitive. They can be death punishment, there can be life imprisonment, they can be other kind of things. Right? This is a serious matter. This is related to law and order. One wrong judgment, जनता भड़क सकती है. One wrong judgment and the public, it can go berserk. So therefore, in this particular scenario, the Britishers, they were cautious. They did not make the IAS officer, British IAS officer, the judge. They made him supervisor. कि तुम थोड़ा सा, अभी तुम नए हो, you do not have proper experience, your status will be above but of a supervisor. Actual work will be done by the qazis and muftis. Like electrician comes to our home, घर तो तुम्हारा, पैसे तुम दे रहे हो, इसका लिए थोड़ी उसके हाथ से प्लास लेके लग गए. He is the expert. तुम्हारा शॉर्ट सर्किट हो जाएगा. He is the expert. So आप क्या करते हो? आप सुपरवाइज करते हो. वहां कर देना, वहां कर देना. But who is the doer? Doer is that electrician. He is the domain expert. कोई घर पे पेंट करने वाला आता है, he is the domain expert. ऐसा नहीं कि नैरो लैक का ऐड देके खुद ही पेंट करने लग गए हैं. पीछे गाना चल रहा है, ठीक है, वो क्या पल भर की रौनक सजानी हो, जो भी गाना चल रहा है, ठीक है, ऐसे नहीं होता. ठीक, वो बस मूवीज में होता है जहाँ पे सुंदर दिखने वाले लड़के लड़कियां नैरो लैक पे नाच रहे होते हैं. ठीक है. डोमेन एक्सपर्ट आता है एट दी होम, राइट, ही डज दी पेंटिंग, यू आर सुपरवाइजिंग. वो कोना छूट गया, दैट पर्टिकुलर प्लेस इज एम्प्टी, दैट पर्टिकुलर प्लेस इज एम्प्टी, यू आर सुपरवाइजर. व्हाई? बिकॉज यू आर नॉट द डोमेन एक्सपर्ट. Right, this kind of scenario. So here the things they are sensitive, and supervision it is of European DC or DM, but the judge continues to be Qazi and Mufti. Right? So therefore this is how the Britishers, they have a cautious approach, because Orientalism is there plus law and order thing, it is there. So they have a cautious approach in 1772 also, and they come above the Indians, but they still keep the Indians on the side. कि तू यहीं पे रह, अभी जा, ठीक है, I need your help. This kind of scenario. Whereas Cornwallis was authoritarianism, he will remove all of these Indians totally. That is the difference between authoritarianism of Cornwallis. Authoritarian means dictator-like, right? He wants all the power with the Britishers, not any Indian, right? That is the difference between authoritarianism of Cornwallis, कि वो सारे Indians को हटा देगा, he'll remove all the Indians, compared to Warren Hastings, who is also Delta authoritarian, because he is also establishing direct rule of the company. He is also putting European as a judge. He is putting the IAS officer, European IAS officer as a supervisor. रख रहा है ऊपर. But Indians को हटा नहीं रहा. He is not removing the Indians totally. And therefore that is the difference between your Orientalism of Warren Hastings and authoritarianism of Cornwallis. ठीक है ना? ऐसा रहेगा बाद में. Anyways, we'll come to Cornwallis. Right? So therefore this is what is done. Right? तो ऐसा है. However, law and order situation will deteriorate. And in 1774, Muhammad Reza Khan, who was put behind bars on charges of corruption randomly, right? So therefore, he was brought out of jail and he was again made to head the सदर निजामत अदालत, सदर निजामत अदालत का हेड उसको दोबारा बना दिया गया था कि भाई तू संभाल ले इसको. He will be removed by Cornwallis permanently. The post of deputy subadar itself will be removed. ये सब चीजें हम लिखेंगे. We will be writing down all of these things. But the core basic structure it is this, right? So पहले इतना है, इसको कर लेते हैं. ये हो गया. Now write down. 1765-72 dash dual government in Bengal. 1765-72 dash dual government in Bengal. First subpoint, MD Reza Khan, Muhammad Reza Khan, MD Reza Khan, capital M, small d, Reza, R-E-Z-A, Muhammad Reza Khan, dash Deputy Nawab, comma, headed Diwani as Diwan of EIC, and Nizamat on behalf of Nawab, Next line, reason is equal to EIC did not want to change the administration much. EIC did not want to change the administration much. EIC did not want to change the administration much. Due to ideology of Orientalism. And as soon as you hear the word Orientalism, one phrase should come to your mind: rule India the Indian way. Right? Even if you forget everything, rule India the India way. Right? Therefore, Indian officials continued to be decision makers. Next point, heading 1772 direct government. 1772 direct government. Dash EIC implemented their administration. Slash rule. EIC implemented their administration slash rule because EIC implemented their own administration after their administration and rule. एक ही चीज है. Rule because first sub point. एक तो सुपीरियरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स था इन लोगों को. क्या सुपीरियरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स था? They felt that they can rule India the Indian way better than Indians. Right? They had this thing that these Qazis, Muftis, Pandits, they are corrupt. They take money for giving judgment. We'll be able to rule India better, the India way, but better. Right? That is one of the aspects. Second thing, they believed that we'll be able to fulfill the white man burden, because in Orientalism, white man burden means restoring the glory of ancient Indian civilization to Indians. Today there is degradation. We will end the degradation and restore the glorious status of the past. We will implement the true Hindu law. We will implement the true Islamic law. Why? Because these Indians, they are corrupt. इन्होंने तो बंटाधार कर दिया है. We will implement the right thing. That kind of scenario. Third reason was they felt when the common man will see a Firangi as a judge, will see a Firangi as a district collector, will see the Firangi as a policeman, SP तो नहीं, but उस प्रकार से मतलब in general, right, police. So therefore they will come and when the common man will see that now not Naib Nazim but GG Bengal is the Chief Justice, GG Bengal is the head of executive, head of legislature, head of judiciary, then the Indians, they will come to realize that who is the ruler now. And therefore dabdaba of the East India Company, fear of the East India Company, realization in the common psyche that British are the ruler will take place. Common mind will change. Earlier common mind used to think that Mughals are the rulers. Now when they, with their eyes, when they see the Firangis in positions of power, Now they will realize that now Mughals are not the ruler, Firangis are the ruler. And this will strengthen the power, the hold of the IC. Now after this, whenever an Indian will see a Firangi walking on the streets, right, maybe in some carriage, he will like this, ruler is coming, right? एक सेंस ऑफ फियर होगा. वाई? अब वो अपनी आंखों से देख रहा है रोज. अर्लियर ही डिड नॉट नो कि कह तो रहे हैं नवाब की सरकार चली. राइट, दैट ईस्ट इंडिया, बट डेप्यूटी नवाब इज देयर, सेम ही तो है सब कुछ, वही तो लोग हैं, सेम ओल्ड पीपल आर देयर. पता नहीं कुछ हुआ तो है, कह रहे हैं कुछ डुअल गवर्नमेंट आया है, यूपीएससी के लिए पढ़ना पड़ेगा डुअल गवर्नमेंट. राइट, दे आर नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हाट हैज हैपेंड. मतलब पीपल, द कॉमन मैन, उसको ही till the point of time the common man does not see with his own eyes that the decision in my case was taken by a Firangi person. Till that point of time he will not realize that who is the actual ruler, right? This kind of scenario. So therefore the third reason tha British wanted to establish their sovereignty in the minds of the people, right? So write on first sub point. They believed that British administration in brackets star लगा के that is officers. They believed that British administration, bracket में star लगा के that is officers, brackets closed, would be more efficient, leading to better law and order, leading to better law and order, and more revenue collection, that was down, more revenue collection that was down since Great Bengal famine, more revenue collection that was down since Great Bengal famine 1770. Great Bengal famine 1770. ग्रेट बंगाल फेमीन 1770. अच्छा, एक थोड़े से क्लैरिफाई कर दूं, हमने हेडिंग तो जुडिशरी लिखी थी बिकॉज जुडिशरी हम डिस्कस करेंगे, बट अभी हमने जुडिशरी स्टार्ट नहीं किया है. सो ये जनरल चल रहा है. सो वेन एवर वी आर सेइंग डायरेक्ट गवर्नमेंट, इट इज नॉट जस्ट इन जुडिशरी, इट इज जुडिशरी प्लस एग्जीक्यूटिव प्लस मतलब एवरीथिंग, राइट? तो अभी एक जनरल चल रहा है. सो डायरेक्ट गवर्नमेंट विल इंक्लूड जुडिशरी प्लस 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 प्लस, है ना? तो उस प्रकार से, ठीक है. तो एनीवेज, सेकेंड सब पॉइंट, to fulfill WM burden, to fulfill WM burden, by providing a fair administration, थोड़ा रुको, सोचो, हमने आपको क्या कहा था? What is fulfilling of white man's burden? To restore the glorious past. ठीक? अच्छा सर, glorious past, स्टूडेंट बेचारा सोचता है कि अच्छा भाई पता नहीं फिर इसका मतलब वेद पढ़ने पड़ेंगे या फिर एंशियंट इंडियन हिस्ट्री वी वुड हैव टू रीड टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज द ग्लोरियस पास्ट. चलो, टीचर ने कम से कम इतना बताया, वेयर फॉर एग्जाम्पल नेगेटिव्स आर नॉट प्रेजेंट, वेयर मिस इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ हिंदू लॉ इज नॉट देयर, right, where social evils like sati in the form of murder or child marriage or these kind of things, polygamy, polytheism etc., these things are not there. ठीक है, तो चलो एक तो ये चीज़ हुई. ये जो अब हम सेंटेंस लिखने जा रहे हैं, दिस इज अनदर वे टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हाट विल बी द ग्लोरियस पास्ट, राइट? सो इन द ग्लोरियस पास्ट फेयर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन वुड बी देयर, राम राज्य विल बी देयर, corruption will not be by judges, rule of law will be there, background of the person will not determine what punishment he gets, right? It is like the best things which are possible in judiciary, that kind of system, right? So anyway, right on, to fulfill white man's burden by providing a fair administration without nepotism, in brackets star लगा के, show me the man, I'll show you the rule. Show me the man, I'll show you the rule. ब्रैकेट्स क्लोज्ड. व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय नेपोटिज्म? नेपोटिज्म मीन्स दैट योर, अब बॉलीवुड का तो पता ही है नेपोटिज्म, है ना, तो उस वो तो अच्छे से बॉलीवुड ने रिवाइज करा दिया आपको, है ना. तो आफ्टर सुशांत सिंह राजपूत एटसेट्रा, सो एवरीवन नोज व्हाट इज नेपोटिज्म, है ना. ऐसा करण जोहर, है ना, नेपोटिज्म, राइट, बाय दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो, है ना, करण जोहर्स नेपोटिज्म, राइट. So that kind of scenario it is there. So that is one thing. So ultimately, but that is a subpart. It basically means that the social background that you belong to, the family background that you belong to, it is having an impact. It is having an impact. It is having an influence, right? So show me the man, I'll show you the rule. This kind of scenario. Brackets closed. हाँ जी. वो एंशियंट वेंशियंट मिडिवल में पढ़ोगे, अपना हाथ बहुत तंग है एंशियंट मिडिवल में, ऐसे क्वेश्चन पूछ के मुझे शर्मिंदा मत किया करो, ठीक. नहीं नहीं, मैं तो खुला बोलता हूँ, अपने को एंशियंट वेंशियंट कुछ नहीं पता, ऑप्शन थोड़ी था मेरा हिस्ट्री. पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन साइकोलॉजी था ऑप्शन, बट किसी भी ऑप्शनल वाले टीचर को ले आओ मॉडर्न में, उसको फेल कर दूंगा. जो आता है वो थोड़ा ठीक से आता है, ठीक, कोशिश करते हैं. जो नहीं आता नहीं आता, शर्माते नहीं है, सीखनी है, एंशियंट सीखनी है. पढ़ी थी पर 4 साल नहीं पढ़ी एंशियंट मिडिवल, क्लियर 4 फिल्म्स, नो प्रॉब्लम. आर्ट एंड कल्चर भी नहीं पढ़ा. क्या कह रहे हो? शो मी द मैन, आई विल शो यू द रूल. भाई यू नो, यू केम टू मी, राइट, फॉर एनीथिंग, मतलब इट कैन बी जुडिशरी ऑल्सो, इट कैन बी एप्लीकेशन ऑफ लॉ ऑल्सो, ऑन द स्ट्रीट ऑल्सो, ठीक है. अब वेन द पुलिस मैन कैचेज होल्ड ऑफ यू, इफ यू आर ब्रोकन ट्रैफिक लाइट, ठीक है, तो तुम मिला देते हो ना अपने पापा को फ़ोन कि पापा ज़रा बात करना है ना, ऐसा. तो तुम एक्सपेक्ट करो दैट आई एम द मैन and the rule will change because of my social background, that kind of scenario. So show me the man, I'll show you the rule means the background, जिस background से आप belong करते हो उसकी वजह से फर्क पड़ रहा है ना. तो when you clear UPSC, after that when you break any traffic red light, your expectation will be that you'll take out your service card and you say, the policeman in rural areas may be think different, but in urban areas the policeman will say, this is not driving license. ठीक है. इन अर्बन एरिया थिंग्स आर डिफरेंट, ठीक है. देयर यू हैव टू टॉक पोलाइटली, देयर यू हैव टू गिव प्रॉपर रिस्पेक्ट टू द रूलर ऑन द ग्राउंड. ही इज द जज, ही इज द लेजिस्लेचर, ही इज द जुडिशरी ऑन द ग्राउंड. दैट सिपाही, that constable is everything, total concentration of power in that particular moment on the ground. Right? So therefore you can have all the card whatever, जब तक तमीज से बात नहीं करोगे. मेरे साथ हुआ था ऐसे, मेरे साथ हुआ था ऐसे. मेरा सिलेक्शन हो गया यूपीएससी में, ठीक है. आई वाज हैविंग टी इन माई कार, ठीक है, चाय पी रहा था मेट्रो स्टेशन, गाड़ी में गाने चला के चाय पी रहा था, ठीक. सिलेक्शन हो गया तो माँ बाप ने गाड़ी दे दी थी कि चलो ठीक है, पुरानी थी पर ठीक है घुमा लो, दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. वो पुलिस वाला आ गया, ठीक है. मुझे लगा अब वो पार्किंग, नो पार्किंग एरिया ना, वो दिस नो पार्किंग एरिया. सो आई थॉट आई हैव क्वालिफाइड यूपीएससी, राइट, एंड देयरफॉर आई टोल्ड हिम, एंड अभी तो आई हैड द प्रूफ ऑल्सो कि यूपीएससी वेबसाइट का रिजल्ट, राइट, ऐसा प्रूफ ऑल्सो, राइट. सो देयरफॉर आई वाज इन माय एटीट्यूड लाइक, हाँ तो, एंड आई स्टार्टेड आर्ग्यूइंग विद हिम, हाँ तो क्या हो गया, आई डू नॉट नो, आई एम ए ऑफिसर एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा, राइट. That person gave me a lesson that day, right. That person told me that okay, you may go, ठीक है, but you should know that you are very, मतलब in English you are a very rude kind of person, and in it all बहुत बदतमीज आदमी हो तुम. And I felt very bad after that. I realized, मतलब in that experience I realized that one should always be humble. मतलब ऐसा नहीं, ठीक है, मतलब मैं I was not, मैंने इसको ऐसा गलत नहीं बोला, but my tone was harsh. The tone had an attitude, right. ऐसा नहीं कि मैंने कोई अपशब्द इस्तेमाल करे, but the tone was harsh, right, उस तरीके से, क्योंकि वो चाय मेरे ऊपर गिर गई थी. That is separate matter. That वो गर्म चाय मेरे ऊपर गिरी, तो मतलब I was suddenly very angry. But so I was like क्या है, क्या हो गया, मतलब इस तरीके से, right. So anyways, so therefore you might become an IAS officer, that does not mean your challan will not be cut, right. उस प्रकार से वो तो thankful to him, उन्होंने नहीं काटा, ये समझ के बच्चा समझ के नहीं काटा, ठीक है. एनीवेज, तो ये है शो मी द मैन, आई विल शो यू द रूल. ब्रैकेट क्लोज. एंड अ रूल ऑफ लॉ इक्वली एप्लीकेबल, एंड अ रूल ऑफ लॉ इक्वली एप्लीकेबल, एंड अ रूल ऑफ लॉ इक्वली एप्लीकेबल, and a rule of law equally applicable to all Indians, and a rule of law equally applicable to all Indians. Therefore ending any feudal privileges, therefore ending any feudal privileges, therefore ending any feudal privileges, any feudal privileges. Feudal means old and backward, right? So a backward kind of system, that because you belong to a particular family, therefore you should have some kind of special treatment, feudal privilege. Third sub point, it would allow EIC to establish, it would allow EIC to establish, it would allow EIC to establish its sovereignty, it would allow EIC to establish its sovereignty in minds of the people, in minds of the people. That is, establish firm control, that is, establish firm control, FIRM, firm control, firm माने strong, strong control in polity of Bengal, in polity of Bengal, by removing Indians, by removing Indians from senior positions, by removing Indians from senior positions in administration, by removing Indians from senior positions in administration, in administration. Bracket में स्टार लगा के लिखिए. So now we will see, so now we will see, so now we will see Firangi, now we will see Firangi DC slash DM, Firangi judge, etc. So now we will see Firangi DC, DM, judge, etc. So remove the Indians from the senior positions and bring the Britishers in the senior positions. So that is the idea. So these are the reasons because of which direct government is implemented and dual government was ended, right? Next, write down British judicial system. British judicial system dash Bengal. British judicial system dash Bengal. British judicial system dash Bengal. First subheading, Warren Hastings system. Warren Hastings. Warren Hastings system of 1772. Warren Hastings system of 1772. First point already explained, तो इसलिए बस लिख रहे हैं. In Diwali adalats at district level, in Diwani adalats, यहाँ पे this वाला part, in Diwani adalats at district level, comma, European DC was also made the judge. European DC was also made the judge. माने कि he is DC, district collector, collector of revenue, collector of revenue, right? So therefore zamindar system is gone. Now collector of revenue it is coming, right? Was also made the judge, however, assisted by Pandits and Maulvis. However, assisted by Pandits and Maulvis. Assisted by Pandits and Maulvis. कोई मालदीव लिख दे. Pandits and Maulvis. Second sub point. In Nizamat adalats at district level, in Nizamat adalats at district level, comma, Qazis and Muftis, Qazis and Muftis continued to head the court. Qazis and Muftis continued to head the court. Qazis and Muftis continued to head the court, but were now put under supervision, of European DC, in brackets. EIC accused Pandits and Maulvis, EIC accused Pandits and Maulvis of corruption. EIC accused Pandits and Maulvis of corruption. Plus, since law and order and criminal justice, sensitive subjects, therefore continuation of Qazis and Muftis, brackets closed. Therefore continuation of Qazis and Muftis, brackets closed. Right, so the things which we had said verbally we have written down. Third sub point, SDA and SNA, सदर दीवानी अदालत एंड सदर निजामत अदालत लिख लो यार, SDA एंड SNA है ना, ये ऊपर आप लिख लेना, इसको SDA लिखना, क्या पूरा इतना लंबा लिखना, ठीक है। सदर दीवानी अदालत एंड सदर निजामत अदालत, SDA एंड SNA were now to be headed by GG Bengal, SDA and SNA were now to be headed by GG Bengal, and his council members. ठीक, next independent paragraph point. There was conflict between GG Bengal and SC at Calcutta. Set up in 1773. SC at Calcutta set up under Regulating Act 1773. Due to lack of clarity, CLARITY, due to lack of clarity in jurisdiction of the two. JURIS diction of the two. ठीक, तो ये पॉइंट हम ऑलरेडी कर चुके हैं। नेक्स्ट हेडिंग राइट डाउन, चेंजेस ऑफ 1773। नेक्स्ट हेडिंग, चेंजेस ऑफ 1773। हाँ, उसी का ही पार्ट चल रहा है, क्या क्या उन्होंने किया जुडिशरी में। कुछ चीजें उन्होंने, दे डिड सम थिंग्स इन 1772 विच वी हैव रिटन, राइट। They have simply changed the judges. Replaced Indian judges with Britishers, right? In the case of criminal justice system, here they have made him supervisor, but actual judgment, core work will be still done by the Qazis and Muftis, right? In 1773, they bring some more changes, right? So basically, they bring two changes. What are the changes? One thing is that Warren Hastings brings separation of power. Whenever anyone says separation of power, we should always ask at which level, है ना? So separation of power at the level of European DC. माने कि you are district collector, that means you are the executive. Bureaucracy is part of executive, and you are also judiciary. Conflict of interest can be there. For example, you have given, or your class, your brothers have given some decision in revenue matter, right? Some decision in revenue matter, that is land revenue matter में आपने कुछ decision दे दिया that some property needs to be auctioned, let's say, whatever. And then in the morning you're also the judge in the case which was filed by the person who was agreed by your decision. Conflict of interest is there. Conflict of interest is there. So in the first half you are working as a judge, and in the second half you are working as an executive. And जनता को grievance होता है against the executive because decisions on the ground they are taken by the executive. It is then that the people they go to the court to get remedy. Now if the same person is the judge, he will say, case file करेगा. Why will he give a judgment against his own decision on the ground? ऐसा. Or at least his brother IAS officers will be there, if not exactly the same case. So at least there is conflict of interest, right? So therefore it was decision was made that either when you let's say qualify UPSC, अभी तो exam नहीं है, but let's say you are at the level of that person who can be an IAS. So decision will be made that either you will be purely a judge or you will be purely a district collector. You will not be both. So ऐसा नहीं होगा that in the morning you are working as a judge and in the evening or the afternoon you are working as a DC, नहीं, ऐसा नहीं होगा. So therefore proper profile will be given कि भाई आप judge हो for the next 2 years or 3 years whatever, and or you are a IAS officer on the ground for the next 2 years, 3 years. Separation of power to prevent conflict of interest. So this is a positive change, fine. Second thing, Warren Hastings, he wanted to bring justice closer to the people, right? So district is very, very far away in many cases. So I am part of I am a villager and district is very, very far away, right? So justice is far away from me. Below the district there is something called Mofussil areas. Mofussil areas means rural areas, right? So Mofussil areas. So now he replaced the Diwani Adalat and instead he brought Mofussil courts. Mofussil courts are closer to the ground. So that means one district will be having multiple Mofussils. जैसे आज के टाइम में one district has multiple tehsils. So similar kind of system. So you can simplistically you can think कि भाई kind of like tehsil level पे they are bringing a court, right? But उस प्रकार से ठीक है, तो not exactly the same, but Mofussil areas means rural areas. So these are the two changes. Write down changes of 1773. First sub point: separation of power at level of European officials. Separation of powers at level of European officials. At level of European officials. Dash was implemented. Separation of powers at level of European officials was implemented. At level of European officials was implemented. Was implemented. That is a European officer. That is a European officer. That is a European officer who was a DC, a European officer who was a DC, not to be a judge, who was a DC, not to be a judge at same time, not to be a judge at same time, and vice versa, not to be a judge at same time and vice versa. To prevent conflict of interest. To prevent conflict of interest. To prevent conflict of interest. Second sub-point: to bring justice physically closer to people. To bring justice physically closer to people. To bring justice physically closer to people, comma, Diwani Adalats at district level, Diwani Adalats at, continue करूं, तुम मोबाइल पे खोल के देखो, चल रहा है. right? To bring justice physically closer to people, to bring justice physically closer to people, Diwani adalats at district level were replaced with Diwani adalats at district level were replaced with 1/8/18 Mofussil courts, 18 Mofussil courts headed by a European officer, headed by a European officer, that is judge, headed by European officer slash judge, headed by European officer who is acting as a judge, है ना? Judge. In brackets डाल आगे write down. Mofussil implies rural areas. Mofussil implies unit of rural area or rural district brackets closed, right? माने दूर or far off areas of countryside, rural district or far off areas, FAROFF, far off areas of countryside, far off areas of countryside, far off areas of countryside. मतलब दूर दराज की जो एरिया है वहां पे भी कोर्ट होना चाहिए ताकि जनता के पास कोर्ट हो. व्हाट इज कंट्री? कंट्री इज लैंड. व्हाट इज नेशन? Summation of people who feel one. What is state? Organization which manages the affairs of the country and the people. Countryside. Countryside. Simple. Rural areas are nothing but this is my country. दूर center is urban. दूर दराज के एरिया, दूर दराज का गांव. Countryside. This is the countryside. This side is countryside. This one. Countryside. So this word countryside, it simply means rural areas, far off areas. Right, Mofussil areas, right? So that is what is there. हाँ, दीवानी अदालत खत्म कर दी एंड उनकी जगह 18 मोफुसिल कोर्ट, 18 मोफुसिल कोर्ट्स के, राइट? नेक्स्ट राइट ऑन SC एट कलकत्ता, SC एट कलकत्ता. अलग अलग, ओवरऑल 18. District courts were replaced by 18 Mofussil courts. ये चीज देखनी पड़ेगी कि ये चीज अच्छा डाउट पूछा तुमने. इसे कहते हैं टेलीपैथी. मुझे कुछ चीजें ना अलग हैं, मतलब कुछ ये बड़ी वियर्ड होती हैं, वियर्ड. ठीक है, वियर्ड कैसे? समथिंग आर वेरी वियर्ड. When I was making you write down this 18 Mofussil courts, na, a doubt came to my mind, a new doubt came to my mind, right? Which I do not know the answer to, right? Which I do not know the answer to. क्या डाउट आया मुझे? मैंने कहा अगर कोई स्टूडेंट ऐसा पूछे, if any student asks this thing, कि भाई क्योंकि बुक्स में ऐसा क्लियरली लिखा नहीं हुआ, ऐसा कहीं पे मतलब कोई भी आप मतलब वैसे तो कॉमन सेंसिकली पढ़ के तो यही लगता है दैट ओवरऑल इन बंगाल 18 Mofussil courts. But what if that sentence is interpreted in such a way that in one district 18 Mofussil courts? ऐसा ठीक है, in one district 18 Mofussil courts. Same question he asked. ऐसा मेरे साथ बहुत बार होता है क्लास में. The thing which I am thinking some student will ask. Weird. But the answer is, because answer is there in front of us. What is the answer? Because Mofussil means rural district. That means a Mofussil court is a court at a district level, just that the size of the district is smaller now, right? So therefore Bengal is going to be divided into 18 new rural districts, and there you are going to have a district court. So answer is not that in one district you are going to have 18 courts. That is not the answer. You are going to basically identify new units by meri marzi na. For example, this is my Bengal, right? Earlier let's say let's say these are my districts, right? Aisa. Fine. I can convert this into this kind of scenario. मैं कैसे भी डिवाइड कर लूँ. ऑन द मैप ओनली आई हैव टू पुट अ लाइन and I have to establish one court in each of the Mofussil areas or in each of the rural district, right? So overall 18 courts, overall 18 courts, not 18 courts in one district, overall 18 courts, right, at that ground level. नो मतलब ऐसा कहने को आप कह सकते हो, बट सिंपली से मोफोसिल इज अ यूनिट ऑफ एरिया, डिस्ट्रिक्ट इज अ यूनिट ऑफ एरिया, मोफोसिल इज अ यूनिट ऑफ एरिया विच इज स्मॉलर देन अ डिस्ट्रिक्ट एंड देयरफॉर इट इज क्लोजर टू द पीपल. With respect to administration, we are going to have a DC, and with respect to judiciary, now we are going to have a different administration unit. So for the purposes of executive, district ka size will be this, but for the purposes of judiciary, Mofussil will become the unit of application. ठीक है, पहले आप जज को डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे पोस्ट कर रहे थे, अब आप जज को सिंपली Mofussil लेवल पे पोस्ट करोगे. डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर को पहले भी डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे पोस्ट करे थे, अभी डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे पोस्ट करोगे, है ना? वो तो सिंपल है. नहीं नहीं आया समझ? तुम्हें नहीं आया समझ? आ गया तो यार थोड़ा हाँ हाँ ऐसे ऐसे हिला दिया करो ना, ताकि टीचर को पता चल जाए कि आगे समझ. कई बार तो मुझे कंफ्यूज होता, पता नहीं जो मैं समझा रहा हूँ तो मैं समझ में आ रहा नहीं आ रहा, ये ऐसे देखती रहती. मैं समझा देता हूँ फिर ये मुझे समझ नहीं आता, तुम्हें समझ में आ गया नहीं आ गया, है ना? थोड़ा हाँ हाँ कर दिया करो, है ना? ही हंस देवे रिंकी आके पापा, है ना? Basically it is my wish that this is my particular state for the purpose of administration, for the purpose of executive administration, for the purpose of judicial administration, in which units I want to divide it. For example, military आपके सामने है. In the case of military, there is a different organization. कोई ऐसा थोड़ी military is organized at state level. रेजिमेंट्स आर देयर, वो इंडिया को अलग अलग तरीके से डिवाइड करते हैं. वो ज्योग्राफी फॉलो करेंगे प्रिंसिपल, कुछ और फॉलो करेंगे प्रिंसिपल, राइट? रेजिमेंट्स एंड कैंटोनमेंट्स, उनका अपना तरीका है उस चीज़ को डिवाइड करने का. ठीक है, तो जजेस यू आर पोस्टिंग एट मोफोसिल लेवल एंड IAS ऑफिसर यू विल पोस्ट एट दैट लेवल ओनली, राइट? दैट इज DCDM. नाउ राइट डाउन सुप्रीम कोर्ट एट कैलकाटा, SC एट कैलकाटा, SC एट कैलकाटा फर्स्ट पॉइंट. जजेस अपॉइंटेड बाय किंग, judges appointed by crown, ऐसा कर लो, judges appointed by crown plus set up in 1774, set up in 1774 under Regulating Act 1773, set up in 1774 under Regulating Act 1773. Next, 1781 Bengal Judicature Act, 1781 Bengal Judicature Act, 1781 Bengal Judicature Act defined jurisdiction of SC at Calcutta as, defined jurisdiction of SC at Calcutta as, of SC at Calcutta as A, all cases in Calcutta, all cases in Calcutta, plus B, all cases relating to EIC property at Fort Williams, all cases relating to EIC property at Fort Williams, all cases related to EIC property at Fort Williams, all cases related to EIC property at Fort Williams, plus C, all cases involving British born subjects, all cases involving British born subjects, British born subjects, BORN, born subjects, except for acts done by EIC officials in their official capacity, except for acts done by EIC officials in their official capacity. In brackets, these cases went to GG Bengal. These cases went to GG Bengal. ये except वाले जो cases है ना, these cases went to GG Bengal. As he wanted all control over his administration. As he wanted all control over his administration. As he wanted all control over his administration. Brackets close. As he wanted all control over his administration, bracket close. माने कि ये मेरा ऑफिशियल है, इसको पनिश करना होगा ना मैं करूंगा. दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो, लाइक पेरेंट्स हैव अ सेंस ना that if I have to punish the child, I will punish the child. Who are you to hit him? So therefore, this kind of scenario is there. He wants to have total control over his subordinates. Right? That is why if any act which is done by an EIC official in his official capacity, that case will not go to Supreme Court at Calcutta. That will still go to the GG Bengal. Right? Next point. King's Bench in London. King's Bench in London. King's Bench in London heard cases against principal servants. King's Bench in London heard cases against principal servants of EIC in India. King's Bench heard cases, HEARD, heard cases against principal servants of EIC in India. Principal servants of EIC in India. In brackets स्टार लगा के example. In brackets स्टार लगा के example. A corruption case against GG Bengal. Example, a corruption case against GG Bengal. Corruption case against GG Bengal. तो उसको कौन सुनेगा फिर? Who will be the judge or the chief justice? King's Bench in London. Right, so that is why Warren Hastings, Lord Wellesley, and उससे पहले Robert Clive, these three were tried in London on charges of corruption. Right, right. So that is a next point. SC, ये repeat है. SC in Madras in 1800, SC in Madras in 1800, plus SC in Bombay in 1823. SC in Madras in 1800 plus SC in Bombay 1823. SC in Bombay 1823. Right? 23. 33, 23. Okay. Next independent paragraph point. So Supreme Court at Calcutta खत्म हो गया. This is more was हम already कर चुके थे, इसको बस repeat करना था. Next independent point. In 1775, a committee of 11 Pandits. In 1775, a committee of 11 Pandits. And in 1778, in 1775, a committee of 11 Pandits, and in 1778, a committee of Qazis and Muftis. In 1778, a committee of Qazis and Muftis set up for codification of Hindu law and Islamic law respectively. Set up for codification of Hindu law and Islamic law respectively. Hindu law and Islamic law respectively. Hindu law and Islamic law respectively. So there are no different subjective. So there are no different subjective. So there are no different subjective interpretations. So there are no different subjective interpretations of Hindu/Islamic law, of Hindu/Islamic law, plus to enable of Hindu/Islamic law, plus to enable the EIC judge, plus to enable the EIC judge slash officer, plus to enable the EIC judge slash officer full stop. So basically the point is that Hindu law can be interpreted by one Pandit in one manner in one case. In a very similar case, it can be interpreted by another Pandit in another manner. So therefore, these Britishers, they are getting confused. भाई वो कह रहे हैं कि एक काम करो, 11 पंडित्स, you come together, you discuss debate in front of me, right? You discuss debate. गर्मी लग रही है ना? थोड़ा सा कुछ चलवा दो ventilation है. अच्छा. To discuss debate the Hindu law, you discuss and debate, and you clearly write down that in scenario 1 this is what Hindu law says, in scenario 2 this is what Hindu law says. And similarly, you Qazis and Muftis, you also sit down, and therefore you also write down that in this scenario Islamic law says this, in scenario number 2 Islamic law says this. Clearly लिखो, जितना debate करना है, जितना discuss करना है, जो भी आपके conflicts हैं, you are also an intellectual pandit, you are also an intellectual pandit. Do arrive at a conclusion and write it down, so that there is no different interpretation of the law, and so that the Firangi judge clearly knows that in this scenario this is how the India way is. This is how the India way is. This kind of scenario. What if the two Pandits cannot agree? Final decision will be of Mr. Warren Hastings. ऐसा. So it is under his supervision the committee is being set up. So that is the reason. Next, write down in 1781 a code of 1781. In 1781, comma a code of 1781. In 1781, comma a code of 1781. In 1781, comma a code of 1781. So इसको quotes में कर लो, code of 1781, या इसको underline कर लो, code of 1781 dash made written orders compulsory, dash made written orders compulsory, made written orders compulsory, and rules for functioning of courts, and rules for courts functioning, and rules for courts functioning framed. Rules for courts functioning framed. ठीक. Next heading item, Cornwallis Code. Someone was asking me about Cornwallis Code. Cornwallis Code of 1793. Cornwallis Code of 1793. Cornwallis is 8693. Cornwallis 8693's code of 1793. जो बोला वो तो लिख ले. 8693 तो ऐड कर ले. Cornwallis 8693's code of 1793. हाँ पूछ. What about they will be clubbed under Hindu? Other religions they will be clubbed under Hindu, right? So yes, if there is any other religion, वैसे they are very very minority. ठीक है. For example, the Sikh, they are majorly present in Punjab, right? Jains, Buddhs, very very low percentage is there. So in that case, their respective law will be taken up, right? The core idea remains that we should rule India the India way, right? So therefore, if during the Mughal times, if there is a family dispute among the Sikh, if there is a family dispute among the Jains, the way they used to, the way their religion will say things, that will be respected. So that will continue to be respected. So respective religion का law apply करेगा on respective religious community. That kind of scenario. Now Cornwallis is an authoritarian, and an authoritarian is a person who does not want to share power, who says my way or highway, who is kind of like a dictator, right? So basically he will not want any Indians in any senior positions. He will not want any Indians in any senior positions, and he will remove the Qazis and the Muftis as judges from the Nizamat Adalat, right? From the Nizamat Adalat. Plus he will also remove the Pandits and Maulvis as people who are assisting, right? This kind of scenario. Also he will remove the Mafusil courts, and he will again bring back the district courts. Plus for the city areas he is going to bring what you call as city courts, right? Plus to decrease the burden of himself, because he is a GG Bengal, he creates a third tier, that is the middle tier of court. If today, for example, we have to decrease the burden of Chief Justice of India, What is the easiest method, shortcut? Let us create deputy Supreme Courts. Let us create 5 deputy Supreme Courts, right? Or 4 deputy Supreme Courts. Deputy Supreme Court of North India, Deputy Supreme Court of South India, Deputy Supreme Court of West India, Deputy Supreme Court of East India, right? And then identify the different cases in the Supreme Court, and those cases which belong to North India, transfer them down to Deputy Supreme Court of North India. Those cases which belong to East India in the Supreme Court, transfer them to Deputy Supreme Court of East India. Those cases which belong to South India in the Supreme Court, transfer them to Deputy Supreme Court of South India, and similarly for West India. Now how many cases are left for Supreme Court? 0. 0 cases are left, right? And therefore you have made Chief Justice of India totally free, right? Supreme Court judges are totally free now, right? So therefore whenever you want to deburden, you create another hierarchy, which is why as population has increased, earlier for example in my service, Revenue Services Customs, there used to be Assistant Commissioner, Additional Commissioner, Commissioner. That's it, right? Great amount of area wise jurisdiction was great. But now number of businessmen has increased, population has increased. So now we join as Assistant Commissioner, then joint Deputy Commissioner, then Joint Commissioner, then Additional Commissioner, right? After that Commissioner, after that Principal Commissioner, after that Chief Commissioner, after that Principal Chief Commissioner. So many hierarchies have been created. Why? One of the reason is to create more promotional avenues, कि चलो ठीक है काम बाद में बदल जाएगा, तनख्वाह तो पहले बढ़ जाए. The work done by Assistant Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner is same. The work done by ACP and DCP is same. Just that DCP is slightly senior, so उसको तनख्वाह better मिल जाती है. Plus he is able to feel senior compared to a new joining IPS officer or IRS officer who has just joined. कि I am DC or AC. Talk to me with respect. क्या सर काम तो आप भी वही करते हो? Respect. So salary and ऐसा मतलब करने के लिए तो इस तरीके से ओके. बट यस जॉब कैन ऑल्सो जॉब प्रोफाइल मतलब वर्कलोड भी थोड़ा सा वर्कलोड तो कम हो गया, मोर हो गया ना, तो उस तरीके से रोल तो सेम है बट वर्कलोड कम हो गया उस प्रकार से. सो दिस इज द वे. अब इसको लिख लो एक बार, ठीक है? रुक जाओ तुम, थामा गदादारी भी थामा, ठीक. सो फर्स्ट पॉइंट राइट डाउन, फर्स्ट पॉइंट राइट डाउन. Cornwallis 8693, Cornwallis 8693 reintroduced, Cornwallis 8693 reintroduced separation of power at level of European DC / officer, कुछ भी लिख लो, at level of European DC, at level of European DC. आप कहोगे सर ये तो वॉरेन हेस्टिंग्स हैड ब्रॉट, बट बाई चांस ऐसा हुआ था. लिखो ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के. इन 1787 SOP was ended. In 1787 SOP was ended and DC was again made, and DC was again given judicial powers, and DC was again given judicial powers, and DC was again given judicial powers, brackets closed. So therefore ऐसा you should not get confused कि separation of power was introduced by Cornwallis or it was introduced by Warren Hastings. It was introduced by both. Why? In the middle, in the year 1787 SOP had been done away with, right? But now Cornwallis is realizing कि no, that was the right thing, so therefore he is again reintroducing it, right? और क्यों introduce कर रहा है? Because he has brought permanent settlement of 1793. And he does not want the agrarian capitalist to be harassed by the EIC official who is also a judge, right? Extra powerful, this kind of scenario, right? So right now to reduce, continue कर रहे हैं हम उसमें, small t, to reduce abuse of power by, to reduce abuse of power by revenue officials, to reduce abuse of power by revenue officials. Therefore for protecting revenue official कौन हुआ? DC, district collector of revenue, right, and his juniors, है ना. Therefore for protecting property rights of zamindar, the new agrarian capitalist, therefore protecting property rights of zamindar, the new agrarian capitalist of Cornwallis, the new agrarian capitalist of Cornwallis, the new agrarian capitalist of Cornwallis. Right? Then you make this. So basically you write down this is civil and this is criminal. Right? So fresh system which is introduced by Cornwallis. At the top there is going to be SDA, Sadar Diwani Adalat, right, and this Sadar Diwani Adalat will be headed by, and here you are going to have SNA, Sadar Nizamat Adalat. Both of them they will be headed by GG Bengal and council members. ठीक, and council members. फिर below this he is creating a new, he is dividing Bengal into 4 parts. Any one of you has read this part, EIC administration, from Spectrum or any book? Anyone? किसी ने नहीं पढ़ा? झूठे कहीं के, चश्मे वाला पढ़े बैठा. तूने पढ़ा है ना? है? नहीं पढ़ा? सच्ची बता. स्पेक्ट्रम से नहीं, एनसीईआरटी से? पक्का? मम्मी कसम? है? मेरी कसम? मुझे मरवा दे. ये देखो. Anyways, तो when we read these books, so there is a confusion, right? इसमें वो क्या बोलते हैं? वो बोलते हैं 4 provincial courts of appeal. उसमें कहते हैं that Cornwallis introduced 4 provincial courts of appeal, right? And then there is a confusion कि province का mean मतलब तो होता है सूबा. So what do you mean by 4 provincial courts of appeal? ये कौन से 4 provinces हैं? Right? So then I did some research. So it is simple. Bengal is being divided into 4 parts. That is, Bengal is being divided into 4 divisions. And simply each division is given a code. Like India was divided into 4 regions, north, south, east, west. Similarly, Bengal is also divided into 4 regions, and a court is set up and cases are transferred from SDA to there. Right? So therefore, basically 4 provincial courts of appeal, 4 provincial courts of appeal. What are the 4 provincial courts of appeal? So basically, Bengal divided into 4 divisions, dash Patna, ठीक, मुर्शिदाबाद, पटना, मुर्शिदाबाद, उसके बाद आपका कैलकाटा and Dhaka. So we are moving left to right. Patna, Bihar, Murshidabad, Calcutta, ठीक, East Bengal, that is your Dhaka or Dhaka. 4 divisions में and divide किया, right? And 1 court per division. Basically, it is simple. Forget this word. This is just ratta. 4 provincial courts of appeal. This is the real thing, that simply you are dividing Bengal into 4 divisions and you are assigning 1 court to each division. As simple as that. उसका नाम चाहे 4 provincial courts of appeal हो चाहे कुछ हो, right? And below it, he is reintroducing the district courts. He is reintroducing the district courts, right? That is Diwani Adalat. Diwani Adalats. And for the city areas, he is bringing city courts. For the city areas, he is bringing city courts in the civilian domain, right? In the civilian domain, right? In the Sadar Nizamat Adalat, here basically he is dividing this into, यहाँ पे भी सेम ही कॉन्सेप्ट है. यहाँ पे बोला जा रहा है 4 courts of circuit, 4 courts of circuit, 4 court. सो डिवीजन को यहाँ पे प्रोविंस बोल दिया, वहां पे सर्किट बोल दिया, ठीक है, ऐसा आप समझ सकते हैं, एज सिंपल एज दैट, राइट. 4 प्रोविंशियल कोर्ट्स ऑफ सर्किट, राइट, एंड बिलो हिम simply district courts are there, district courts, or which are called Nizamat Adalats. Nizamat Adalats, right? So therefore this is the division, right? So he is adding this particular tier of hierarchy, this particular tier of hierarchy. हाँ, 1 in Patna, 1 in Murshidabad, 1 in Calcutta, 1 in Dhaka. नहीं, अपील का है तो डायरेक्ट तो होगा नहीं कभी. हाँ, after district court. First you will go to district court or to the city court if it is a civil case, or you will go to the Nizamat Adalat if it is a criminal case. अपील में आप जाएंगे ऊपर. हाँ, इससे पहले सीधा आप डिस्ट्रिक्ट से एसडीए चले जाते थे या डिस्ट्रिक्ट से एसएनए चले जाते थे. नाउ यू हैव एडेड वन मोर लेयर एंड दिस यू हैव डन टू रिड्यूस दी, राइट. सो यहाँ पे लिख रहे हैं क्यों किया ये ऐसा, तो राइट डाउन टू डिक्रीज बर्डन ऑफ केसेस, टू डिक्रीज बर्डन ऑफ केसेस ऑन एसडीए एंड एसएनए और ऑन GG Bengal and his council, because they are the heads, right. So this is why it is being done. They are ended. Mofussil courts are ended. This is a fresh system which has been applied. Mofussil courts are done away with. These, that experiment is done away with. क्या डिसॉल्व हो गया, वो तो कलकत्ता में है ही ना, उसकी तो जुरिडिक्शन उन्होंने बता दी. दीज कोर्ट्स, इनका जुरिडिक्शन क्या है, इनका जुरिडिक्शन है होल ऑफ बंगाल. सेकंड, एनी केस विच डज नॉट इन एनी केस विच इन्वॉल्व बोथ इंडियंस, दिस इज द रेलिवेंट. हाँ, एंड दिस इज द मेन, वाई, बिकॉज ब्रिटिशर्स तो मुट्ठी भरे हैं, मासेज दे आर गोइंग टू दीज कोर्ट्स, मासेज, lakhs of people, they are going to these courts. वो तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट है कलकत्ता ओनली फॉर दी फिरंगीज, राइट. सो मुट्ठी भर है वो तो, दे आर वेरी लेस इन नंबर ना, राइट. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट राइट डाउन. ऑल कोर्ट्स जितने भी हमने बनाए हैं, ऑल कोर्ट्स वर टू बी हेडेड बाय, all courts were to be headed by European judges. All courts were to be headed by European judges. European judges. Therefore, Indians were removed. Therefore, Indians were removed from all senior positions in judiciary. Indians were removed from all senior positions in judiciary. Full stop. One reason was corruption by qazis and muftis. One reason was corruption by qazis and muftis. One reason was corruption by qazis and muftis. Acha, who will tell me that why I am saying only qazis and muftis? Why? Because in the civil courts, who is the judge? European Firangi. Indians to are judge in the criminal courts at the district level, and वहां पे जो इंडियंस हैं दे आर काजीज एंड मुफ्तीज बिकॉज इस्लामिक लॉ इज प्रैक्टिस्ड. सो अब जो करप्शन का ब्लेम लग सकता है वो पंडित्स पे नहीं लग सकता बिकॉज वो तो जज है ही नहीं, दे आर नॉट जजेस. पंडित्स आर नॉट जजेस एनीमोर, सो हाउ विल यू अप्लाई चार्ज ऑफ करप्शन ऑन देम, है ना. चार्ज ऑफ करप्शन दे विल बी अप्लाइड ऑन इंडियंस वेयर दे आर जजेस एंड दे वर जजेस इन दी फौजदारी अदालत और निजामत अदालत एट द डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल. सो देयरफॉर दैट्स व्हाई हियर द करप्शन चार्जेस ऑन काजीज एंड मुफ्तीज, राइट. Next, write down. Office of Naib Nazim abolished. Was abolished. Office of Naib Nazim was abolished. Office of Naib Nazim was now abolished. Naib Nazim, Deputy Subadar, was now abolished. Next point. Appointment of vakils / lawyers. Appointment of vakils, VAKILS. Appointment of vakils / lawyers. Appointment of vakils / lawyers. Allowed to fight cases. Therefore, a new class of lawyers emerged in India. Therefore, a new class of lawyers emerged in India. Therefore, a new class of lawyers emerged in India. So, therefore, this concept that my case can be fought by another person was introduced properly by Cornwallis. So, जितने भी lawyers हैं जिन्होंने लॉ किया हुआ है एक तरीके से, जैसे Cornwallis को कहा जाता है फादर ऑफ सिविल सर्विसेज because he organized the civil services into group A service, group B service, covenanted civil services, uncovenanted civil services, senior civil services, junior civil services, prestigious civil services, non-prestigious civil services, covenanted, uncovenanted. Similarly, he can also be called father of vakils or father of liars. Liars, nahi, lawyers. Father of lawyers. Why? Because he is the person who is allowing appointment of lawyers for fighting court cases, and a new class of lawyers is emerging. Right? This is happening. ठीक है, तो नाउ विल मीट आफ्टर 10 मिनट्स. क्या पूछे तुम? हाँ, खुद का खेत खुद लड़ सकते हैं, ले सकते हैं, किसी और की मदद भी ले सकते हैं, बट ऑफिशियली उससे पहले देखो खुद का केस हाँ खुद ही मतलब एक बता दिया जाता, अपनी साइड बताती जाती तो उसका हाँ अपनी साइड बता दी जाती भाई हम इस प्रकार. जो टॉप प्रिंसिपल. नहीं मतलब वहां पे हर चीज को किंग का कहा जाता है नाम के लिए. हाँ मतलब जैसे आर्मी को कहा जाएगा रॉयल आर्मी, है ना, नेवी को कहा जाएगा रॉयल नेवी. जैसे हम वो 1942 जब आएगा ना तब हम करेंगे कि HMIS तलवार, ऑन HMIS तलवार क्विट इंडिया वॉज रिटन बाय द इंडियन मैन ऑफ नेवी, इंडियन नेवी. व्हाट इज HMIS? हर मैजेस्टीज इंपीरियल शिप या कुछ ऐसे, हर मैजेस्टी. मतलब किंग्स बेंच माने मतलब जो वहां का जो भी टॉप कोर्ट है, ठीक ना, उस प्रकार से. नहीं छोटे लेवल पे, छोटे केसेस में बहुत ही मतलब जब ऑन द स्पॉट कुछ डिसीजन कर, जैसे रेवेन्यू सर्विसेज में ऐसा हो जाता है कभी. राइट, सो राइट डाउन नाउ जुडिशियल सिस्टम इन रियतवारी एरियाज. Judicial system in Riyatwari areas. Judicial system in Riyatwari areas. Judicial system in Riyatwari areas. System in Riyatwari areas. So here basically what happened in the case of permanent settlement, there is rise of big landowner, and therefore the number of property owners, they are very less, and accordingly the property related disputes, the land revenue non-payment related disputes, they are relatively less comparatively. They are less comparatively. मतलब absolute terms में तो शुरुआत में बढ़ेंगे, but otherwise if we compare it to Madras, they are less. Why? Because in case of Madras, Ryoth has been given the ownership of the land, and therefore their number of landowners are many more, and automatically the number of court cases will be many more. So therefore, if this kind of system it is implemented there, that the European DC at the district level and his junior officers, they do not have any judicial powers, and for court cases people have to go to a court in the district. The district courts will become overburdened. Whereas if the European DC is also given judicial powers, then he and his subordinate officers, they can resolve the dispute on the ground by giving a judgment there and then itself. So that is why, because in the case of Ryothwari, the number of landowners were many more, because there Ryoth was made the owner of the land. Therefore, this system of separation of power at the level of DC was seen as not right. Right? So you can argue, but sir, district court is also at district level, and district collector or district magistrate is also at district level. But judicial power will also be given to the lower bureaucracy. Judicial power will also be given to the lower bureaucracy. You remember Mirasidars? So Mirasidars, they had concentration of powers. They had administrative powers, that is revenue collection powers. They also had other executive powers, plus they had judicial powers, plus they had police powers. They are the lower bureaucracy of the DC or DM, right? So therefore, that is why SOP will not be followed there, and different system, right? So write down first sub point. Ryoths were made landowners. Ryoths were made landowners. Ryoths were made landowners, and therefore courts were overburdened, and therefore courts were overburdened, and therefore courts were overburdened due to large number of property owners, due to large number of property owners, and therefore large number of revenue related, and therefore large number of revenue related disputes, large number of revenue related disputes, plus district courts were physically far away, plus district courts were physically far away, district courts were physically far away. For poor Ryoths, district courts were physically far away for poor Ryoths living in village. Poor Ryoths living in village. Living in village. Therefore, Bengal system was replaced in 1814. Bengal system was replaced in 1814 in Madras. In 1814 in Madras, on advice of Thomas Munro. On advice of Thomas Munro. On advice of Thomas Munro. In brackets, Governor of Madras, GMA, 1820-27. So in 1814 he is a senior official, not governor. 1820-27 he was governor of Madras. Next point. Separation of power. SOP was ended. SOP was ended. SOP was ended at level of DC. SOP was ended at level of DC. Who was also given judicial powers. Who was also given judicial powers. So he and his subordinates can dispose of cases So he and his subordinates can dispose of OFF cases at ground level. At ground level. This also led to greater Indianization of judiciary at lower levels. This also led to greater Indianization of judiciary at lower levels. Greater Indianization of judiciary at lower levels. Greater Indianization of judiciary at lower levels. Right? Lower levels माने district के नीचे वाले level पे there are judicial powers given to the lower bureaucrats who are Indians. Right? So that is what is happening. Right? तो ये है. Extended to Bombay in 1819. Extended to Bombay in 1819 by Elphinstone. In brackets, follower of Munro. Follower of Munro. Elphinstone, follower of Munro. So he was a British official who was follower of another British official in terms of ideas. Right? So that is what is there. Okay? Next independent paragraph point. So write down dash 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 dash. Next independent paragraph point. Codification of laws. Codification of laws. Codification of laws. In brackets डाला लगा के British laws. British law. Why? Because 1813 के बाद Orientalism came down. So they will not rule India the Indian way, they will rule India the British way. Right? So codification of laws was taken up by Law Commission under Thomas Macaulay. Law Commission under Thomas Macaulay. Codification of laws was taken up by Law Commission under Thomas Macaulay. Comma, the legal member, Thomas Macaulay, comma, the legal member added to GGI's council. The legal member added to GGI's council. Via Charter of 1833. Via Charter of 1833. Via Charter of 1833. Result is equal to CPC 1859. Result is equal to CPC 1859. Civil Procedure Code 1859. IPC 1860. Indian Penal Code 1860. CRPC, CPC, IPC, CRPC 1862. CPC 1859, IPC 1860, CRPC 1862. Next point, Indian High Courts Act 1861. Indian High Courts Act 1861. Indian High Courts Act 1861. Led to 3 high courts in 3 presidencies. Led to 3 high courts in 3 presidencies. Led to 3 high courts in 3 presidencies. कौन सी है 3 प्रेसिडेंसी? बॉम्बे, बंगाल या कलकत्ता ही बोल सकते हैं. बॉम्बे, मद्रास, बंगाल. बॉम्बे, मद्रास, बंगाल. कलकत्ता ही बोल सकते हैं, कोई इशू नहीं है. बॉम्बे, मद्रास, बंगाल. In 1865. In 1865. Example, in 1865. Example, SC at Calcutta, comma, SNA and SDA merged. SC at Calcutta, comma, SNA and SDA merged to form SC at Calcutta, comma, SDA and SNA merged to form High Court of Calcutta. To form High Court of Calcutta. to form High Court of Calcutta. ठीक, तो ये हो गया हमारा जुडिशरी. अब नेक्स्ट आते हैं पुलिस पे. ठीक है. सो इन द केस ऑफ पुलिस, व्हाट वाज द सिस्टम ड्यूरिंग द टाइम पीरियड ऑफ मुगल्स? So please write this down. So overall in charge is Deputy Subadar. Fauzdar is in charge at district level. Below him, Zamidars had police duties. Below Zamidars, village watchmen were there who were paid by Zamidars. And in urban areas, that is towns, Kotwal used to be there. Write down, this system continued until 1781. 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 Next, write down 1781 system of Warren Hastings. 7385. 1781 system of Warren Hastings. 7385. 1781 system of Warren Hastings. 7385. Warren Hastings. 7385. Right. So basically what he did at the district level, because he wants to implement in law and order is sensitive. Law and order, so therefore in the matters of revenue he is bringing the European DC in 1772 itself, but in the matters of law and order he is removing the Fauzdars in 1781. So what he is doing, so Fauzdars, so therefore this is district level, right? So therefore at district level Fauzdars replaced with European DC. So European DC is also given the police powers. He is made the, so IPS नहीं है, SP नहीं है, Superintendent of Police नहीं है. European DC is the IS also, European DC is the IPS also. मजा तो तब था UPSC करने का, right? European DC, ठीक है? This kind of scenario. And below him there will be multiple zamindars. Zamindars, they will report to, zamindars reported to European DC. Zamindars with village watchmen under them. Zamindars with village watchmen under them. With village watchmen under them. With the village watchman under them. इसको DC भी कह सकते हैं, DM भी कह सकते हैं. ठीक, दिस सिस्टम इज क्रिएटेड. वो इंटरचेंजेबली यूज होता है. DC DM इंटरचेंजेबली यूज होता है. जैसे ही आपने इसको लॉ एंड ऑर्डर वाला सिचुएशन दे दिया, ठीक है, या फिर जब आपने उसको जुडिशियल पावर्स दे दी, तब आप वो एकदम से मैजिस्ट्रेट बन गया. तो इसलिए DC DM इंटरचेंजेबली ही यूज रहता है. तो DC/DM है ना, दिस इज सिस्टम विच इज क्रिएटेड. ठीक है, रीजन तो हम पहले लिख ही चुके हैं. ही वांट्स द पावर्स विद द यूरोपियंस, राइट. रिजल्ट इज इक्वल टू जमींदार एट्रोसिटीज, जमींदार्स एट्रोसिटीज, जमींदार्स एट्रोसिटीज, जमींदार्स एट्रोसिटीज, जमींदार्स एट्रोसिटीज continued, जमींदार्स एट्रोसिटीज continued. continued कह लो, नहीं तो continued हटा भी सकते हैं. ठीक है, continued हटा दो सिंपली. जमींदार एट्रोसिटीज because of improper supervision, because of improper supervision due to inadequate numbers, due to inadequate number of DCs/DMs, inadequate number of DCs/DMs, magistrates भी कह सकते हैं, right. So this is what is happening. So therefore the system failed. Therefore system failed. Next, write down दारोगा system or Cornwallis system. दारोगा system or Cornwallis system. Cornwallis is saying, Cornwallis 8693 system, that now the zamindar is an agrarian capitalist from 1793. So why he should have any police powers? Businessman should do business. Businessman अब थोड़ी मतलब पुलिस पावर्स होना चाहिए बिजनेसमैन का. सो ये सेइंग नहीं ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. एक्स्ट्रा मनी पावर एंड एक्स्ट्रा पुलिस पावर, दे विल लीड टू ऑपरेशन. जमींदार विल बिकम अ टायरेंट. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. सो फाइन, आई एम इंक्रीजिंग द मॉनेटरी पावर ऑफ द जमींदार बाय मेकिंग अ बिग लैंडलॉर्ड, बट आई एम गोइंग टू टेक अवे द पुलिस पावर्स ऑफ जमींदार. एंड इंस्टेड ऑफ जमींदार व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू हैव इज अ दारोगा. दारोगा माने थानेदार, थानेदार माने SHO, स्टेशन हाउस ऑफिसर, right, this kind of scenario, right. So what I am going to have is that at the district level I am going to have this DC/DM, right, and below him I am going to have darogas, right, darogas at thana level, and each thana had, thana mane police station, had 30 square miles of area under it. 30 square miles of area under it. 30 square miles of area under it. And police powers of zamindars, police powers of zamindars taken away. Police powers of zamindars taken away. Taken away. As he now is an agrarian capitalist. As he now is an agrarian capitalist for Cornwallis 8693. for Cornwallis 8693. For Cornwallis 8693. For Cornwallis 8693. Right, Darogas, they reported to DC or DM. DC or DM. नहीं, दरोगा इंडियन था क्या? ऐसे ऐसे क्या कर रहे हो? आ तो कुछ 30 स्क्वायर माइल्स स्क्वायर है, 30 स्क्वायर माइल्स ऐसा है। तो जब, अच्छा मुझे लगा जब मैंने बोला तो आप मुझे सुनते होंगे। स्क्वायर माइल्स, 1 mile is equal to 1.6 kilometer. So 1.6 into 1.6, right, kilometer square. ठीक है, एरिया लेंथ 1.6 किलोमीटर इंटू 30, ब्रेथ 1.6 इंटू 30, CJAT का क्वेश्चन, दिस मच एरिया ऑफ स्क्वायर किलोमीटर्स। कर लो, मेरा हो चुका है, मुझे निकलनी CJAT, तुम करो। ठीक, सो दिस इज व्हाट इज बीइंग डन। ठीक है ना, स्क्वायर माइल्स, माइल्स में 1.6 किलोमीटर्स होते हैं। ठीक है, तो उतना एरिया हो गया। अब वो सर्कुलर एरिया भी हो सकता है, कैसा भी हो सकता है, ट्रायंगल, बट वो एरिया है ना। तो थाना मतलब कि पुलिस स्टेशन होता है ना, तो पुलिस स्टेशन का एक एरिया रहेगा, तो 30 स्क्वायर माइल्स ऐसे ऐसे थानेदार बन जाएंगे, दैट इज द SHO और दारोगा, एंड दे विल बी रिपोर्टिंग टू दी डिस्ट्रिक्ट। सो डिस्ट्रिक्ट विल बी डिवाइडेड इनटू थानास। सो एक और पॉइंट लिख सकते हो, district was divided into thanas. District was divided into thanas. District, हाँ, बहुत कम एरिया। District was divided into थाना, बहुत कम एरिया का। एक सेकंड, जो भी है यार कर लो उसमें। 30 स्क्वायर माइल्स में स्क्वायर रूट निकालना पड़ेगा उसके लिए। ठीक है यार, जो भी। तो अब छोटा है बड़ा, मैं क्या करूं यार, कम एरिया है ज्यादा एरिया है। अब पुलिस स्टेशन में तो कितना एरिया होना चाहिए है? अब यहाँ पे तो चौराहे चौराहे पे पुलिस स्टेशन है, पॉपुलेशन बढ़ गई है इसलिए। अब तुम्हें एरिया कम नहीं लगता? यहाँ एरिया कम लगा, फालतू बात कर रहे हो। अजीब आदमी कह रहा है कि कम एरिया नहीं है, हम क्या करें? कम एरिया तो 30 स्क्वायर माइल्स ठीक ठाक है। तुम्हारा घर कितने मील में है? छोटा एरिया, 30 स्क्वायर माइल्स है ना। थाना वाज डिवाइडेड इनटू योर दिस थिंग, डिस्ट्रिक्ट वाज डिवाइडेड इनटू थानास, है ना। राइट, सो राइट डाउन रिजल्ट इज इक्वल टू द सिस्टम फेल्ड, द सिस्टम फेल्ड ड्यू टू द सिस्टम फेल्ड एंड द सिस्टम फेल्ड एंड दारोगा जमींदार नेक्सस, the system failed and daroga zamidar nexus, NEXUS, daroga zamidar nexus became instrument, daroga zamidar nexus became instrument of coercion, atrocity, atyachar, operation, became instrument of coercion of 1800s, of 1800s, as zamidars bribed darogas, as zamidars bribed darogas, therefore illegally continued having their lathiyals slash armed men, their lathiyals slash armed men illegally continued having their lathiyals slash armed men. Right? Full stop. Cornwallis 8693 blamed Cornwallis 8693 blamed Indians for negatives of the system. Blamed Indians for negatives of the system. Cornwallis से थोड़ी कहा है जमींदार को कि तू Cornwallis has not told the जमींदार that you should give bribe and Cornwallis has not told the daroga that you should take bribe. So basically they are blaming the corruption of the Indians, that these people are inherently corrupt and therefore the system has failed. I had removed the powers of the zamindar, but zamindars are still able to coerce the people on the ground. They are able to keep their armed men illegally, their lathyals illegally. Why? Because they are bribing the darogas. So there is a daroga zamindar nexus, right? That is why the system is failing. Next point was applied to Madras in 1802. 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 Right. Next, write down. Indian Police Act. Indian Police Act 1861. Indian Police Act 1861. नहीं इंडियन पुलिस एक्ट आप एक काम लिख लो, एक सेकंड पहले उनका जवाब दे देते हैं. इंडियन पुलिस एक्ट 1861 उससे पहले लिख लो, फिर एक्चुअली ऑलरेडी मैं लिखवा चुका हूं. आप लिखिए अप्लाई टू मेड्रास इन 1802 एंड अप्लाई टू मेड्रास इन 1802. फिर मद्रास में हटा दिया गया था. फिर मद्रास में हटा दिया गया था ये वाला सिस्टम. एंड अब यार कंफ्यूज कर दिया देखो तुमने. हाँ, मद्रास में हटा दिया गया था और फिर उसके बाद फिर वो आ गया था, क्या कहते हैं आपका, पुलिस पावर्स वर गिवन टू लोअर ब्यूरोक्रेसी ओनली. ठीक है, उस प्रकार से. ठीक है, तो आप लिखिए एंड नेगेटिव्स एंड नेगेटिव्स एंड नेगेटिव्स एंड नेगेटिव्स led to and negatives led to its removal. Negatives led to its removal. Negative leads to its removal. And police powers were given. Police powers were given to lower bureaucracy under DC/DM. Police powers were given to lower bureaucracy under DC/DM. DC/DM. That led to oppression by Mirasidars. 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 एक बार कंफर्म कर रहा हूं. हाँ, हमने ठीक लिखा है. हमने ठीक लिखा है. अग्नि परीक्षा होगी मेरी. हमने ठीक लिखा है ना. ये लिखा हमने. नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट्स इन मद्रास, दे लेड टू अबॉलिशमेंट ऑफ कॉर्नवालिस सिस्टम एंड नाउ कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ पुलिस पावर्स in DC and his lower bureaucracy that led to oppression by revenue officials, that is Mirasidars, which was revealed by Madras Torture Commission Report 1855, which we have written earlier also. ठीक है ना. तो Mirasidars, they are landowners who joined lower bureaucracy, bought best lands in the ऑक्शन सब पॉइंट हम पहले लिख चुके हैं, ठीक है, तो हमने ठीक लिखा है इसमें, ठीक है। अब आप क्या कह रहे थे? हाँ जी, रेगुलेशन 7 बहुत अच्छा, गुड गुड गुड। रेगुलेशन 7 में पुलिस पावर्स ऑफ जमींदार्स वर रिस्टोर्ड बाय वेलेस्ले, ठीक है, सो दैट पॉइंट यू कैन ऐड फ्रॉम देयर, राइट। नेक्स्ट टू राइट ऑन Indian Police Act 1861 on basis of Police Commission 1860, on basis of Police Commission 1860, on basis of Police Commission 1860, तो ये भी हम पहले कर चुके हैं, राइट। सो on basis of Police Commission 1860, right, so इसमें you write down, so ये at province level you are having Inspector General, that is IG. At district level you are going to have Superintendent of Police, that is SP, and here Daroga is simply renamed to Sub Inspector SI, right, that is at police station level or Thana level, police station or Thana level, right. He will report to SP, he will report to IG. Yes, there will be horizontal reporting to DC/DM, but this system is not there, right. So for the first time you are saying that the police officers at the ground level are not reporting to the DC/DM. Till now, चाहे हमने दारोगा system देखा हो, there also the darogas they used to report to DC/DM. Before that, zamindars used to, as per 1781 system, zamindars used to report to DC/DM, but for the first time you have a proper hierarchy of specialists. IG will be responsible to the LG or governor. So therefore this is the thing is there, and therefore for the first time this hierarchy it is coming, hierarchy of specialists. SP is coming into picture for first time. From top to bottom a clear chain of command is coming for the first time. Otherwise a civilian authority, that is district magistrate, used to be IPS also. अबे आया समझ में? नहीं आया? नहीं आया तो डाउट पूछ लो। आया नहीं आया? अबे तुमसे पूछ रहा हूं, अबे तुम्हें तो देख रहा हूं मैं। अरे लाल जैकेट वाले वो मुझे देख रहा है, मैं उसे देख रहा हूं, मैं बात कर जाऊंगा तो कुछ कह ही नहीं रहा। आप देखिए जितने भी सारे केसेस हुए हैं इससे पहले में, whenever you have made anything, right, so here the darogas they are reporting to DM ना, they are not reporting to SP, कोई SP है ही नहीं। Here also you see the zamindars who had police duties since the time period of Mughals, they are reporting to DC, IPS तो है ही नहीं। That means this person is overburdened, इसका सुपरविजन भी वीक हो रहा है। हमने कहा था दिस सिस्टम फेल्ड बिकॉज ऑफ हिज पुअर सुपरविजन, बिकॉज ऑफ इनएडिक्वेट नंबर ऑफ डीसी। तो आपके पास सारा आईएएस वाला भी काम है, यू हैव ऑल द वर्क ऑफ आईएएस आल्सो, यू हैव ऑल द वर्क ऑफ आईपीएस आल्सो, यू आर ओवरबर्डन्ड, एंड नाउ वर्क इज डिवाइडेड, प्रॉपर सुपरिटेंडेंट ऑफ पुलिस इज कमिंग। सो देयरफॉर आईपीएस जिनका फर्स्ट चॉइस है, दे शुड चेरिश दिस पर्टिकुलर मॉडल दैट नाउ प्रॉपर। आईजी था ही नहीं अभी कहीं पे, कहीं पे भी हमने लिखा आईजी, राइट। सो सी सिविलियंस वर इन चार्ज ऑफ actual police work also, but now a hierarchy of specialists is created, a hierarchy of specialists is created. So write down, therefore for first time, therefore for first time, therefore for first time a well defined, therefore for first time a well defined hierarchy of specialists, therefore for first time a well defined hierarchy of specialists with clear chain of command, therefore for first time a well defined hierarchy of specialists with clear chain of command from top to bottom, with clear chain of command from top to bottom was set up, was set up, was set up. Next point, after 1857 revolt, after 1857 revolt, Indians British ensured after 1857 revolt, British ensured, ऐसा कर दो, after 1857 revolt, British ensured that Indians are excluded from all senior positions. British ensured that Indians are excluded from all senior positions. Indians are excluded from all senior positions. उससे पहले भी कौन से थे? ठीक, नेक्स्ट राइट डाउन. पुलिस कमीशन 1902. पुलिस कमीशन 1902. पुलिस कमीशन 1902 रिकमेंडेड नेक्स्ट पॉइंट है, नेक्स्ट इवेंट हो रहा है. पुलिस कमीशन 1902. पुलिस कमीशन 1902 रिकमेंडेड अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ इंडियंस, अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ एजुकेटेड इंडियंस in police force, appointment of educated Indians in police force. However, Indians stopped in rank where Europeans began. However, Indians stopped in rank where Europeans began. Europeans began. Indians stopped in rank where Europeans began. माने कि the senior most Indian will not have any European either at his level or below him. Europeans will always be above Indians, right? Because British didn't trust Indians. British didn't trust Indians. Full stop. British didn't trust Indians. Full stop. Right. Next point. Civil services reforms. Next heading. Civil services dash. So police हो गया, judiciary हो गया, civil services dash. तो जो कॉर्नवालिस था 8693, he had some positives. For example, he was very honest kind of person, and corruption was taking place in the form of illegal private trade. Corruption was taking place in form of illegal private trade. So therefore, he inquired that why this illegal private trade is going on. Apart from greed, are there any other reasons? So he came to realize that the salaries of the EIC officials in India, official salaries, they were low. So the attraction was corruption. Why to go to India? ऊपर का पैसा, corruption. So he increased the salaries of the bureaucrats, but at the same time became very strict with respect to corruption, and he ended private trade by the East India Company officials effectively. Right? So earlier the problem was that the senior most official himself is doing private trade. So when the senior most official is corrupt, how can he ensure that the junior officers are not corrupt? Right? So therefore, because the senior most man was now very honest, so he ensured that private trade, it is not done by the EIC officials. That is, they themselves do not act as traders. They simply do work of the East India Company. Plus, he also reorganized, पूरा structure reorganized किया. Like today we have Group A services, Group B services. So right now you are fighting for Group A services. In SSC, ये आवाज कहाँ से भाई? In SSC, Group B services are there. Right. Similarly, for example, your state PCS, Group B services are there. So Group B services, you can think of them as subordinate services, that is uncovenanted services, and Group A services, covenanted civil services. So therefore, this organization into Group A, Group B, or covenanted, uncovenanted, for the first time it was done by Cornwallis, and he is also called father of civil services. Right? So therefore, that is what is being done. These uncovenanted civil services were open to Indians in the Charter Act of 1833. And the covenanted civil services, they were open to Indians by introduction of exam, which can be given by Indians also by Charter Act of 1853. However, simultaneous exam was not held in India, right? And therefore, the Britishers, they prevented entry of Indians at senior levels by not holding the exam in India. They also used to ensure that the age limit for the exam is very low. It varied from 19 to 23, right? It varied from 19 to 23. Finally, there was some pressure by the Indian national movement, that is Indian national movement leaders. They created pressure on the Britishers, and British Parliament in 1870 gave a direction, passed a law under which it recommended, one of the component was that we should have more Indians at senior levels. In 1878, therefore, a lateral entry service was created. All of you understand what is lateral entry? That is, without giving UPSC exam, you work in the private sector for 10-20 years, है, और पता चले आज से कुछ साल बाद मैं तुम्हारा बॉस बन के आ जाऊं फिर. Lateral entry. Right? Basically, lateral entry means you are working in the private sector, and after that, you are directly entering into the civil services at senior level, at joint secretary level, let's say, or at director level, let's say. Right? So their exam is not there. There the government nominates, takes interview, nominates. This kind of scenario. So therefore, he did not want exam to be conducted in India. He did not want to increase the age limit. But still a direction has come from the parliament. So what did Lytton do? Lytton 7680, 1876 to 1880. He introduced Indian statutory civil services or statutory civil services through an act called Statutory Civil Services Act of 1878 that allowed nomination of Indians, nomination of Indians at officer level. Lytton, he ensured that only such Indians are nominated as IAS officers, those who are loyal to the Britishers. So Intelligence Bureau, CID, will do a background check, and it will be able to identify that this Indian is a nationalistic Indian or this Indian is more pro-British. If he is pro-British and he has applied, then he will be considered and made IAS officer. And therefore, this is lateral entry is just a bahana to prevent accepting the demand of the Indians for Indianization of civil services. Right? So why are you going for this lateral entry? Open the exam for us by, exam is open, but hold the exam in India also. Why we have to go to London to give the exam? So therefore, this kind of scenario it is taking place. Right? So please write down. चल रही है, हो भी चुकी है लेटरनेट तो कुछ थोड़ी बहुत. राइट डाउन. कॉर्नवालिस 8693, कॉर्नवालिस 8693 डैश, कॉर्नवालिस 8693 डैश. अच्छा, इसने एक और काम किया था, सिफारिशी टट्टुओं को हटा दिया था. कॉर्नवालिस 8693 ensured that those who are coming with some reference and are not meritorious, that is those who have some links in London, right, and they are coming, so he prevented that, and he ensured that only those who are truly meritorious in London, they are recruited as IAS officers, Firangi IAS officers in India. Right? So write down reduced patronage, reduced patronage, reduced patronage, that is promoted merit based selection, that is promoted merit based selection, that is promoted merit based selection, plus increased salaries to curb corruption, increased salaries to curb, reduce corruption, CURB, to curb corruption, plus ended private trade by EIC officials, ended private trade by EIC officials, ended private trade by EIC officials, plus reintroduced separation of power, reintroduced separation of power at level of DC, reintroduced separation of power at level of DC, at level of DC. Right? Next point, 1833 dash, 1833 dash. अच्छा 1833 डैश की जगह एक और पॉइंट लिख लो, वो तो रह गया हमारा, वो भी लिख देते हैं. 1833 काट दो. Cornwallis also called, also known as, Cornwallis also known as father of civil services. Cornwallis also known as father of civil services. father of civil services. He organized CS into covenanted CS and uncovenanted CS. Covenanted CS and uncovenanted CS. Covenanted CS and uncovenanted CS. मतलब proper system proportion. मतलब जैसे for example today you become a IAS officer, you already have a clear line of promotion that today I will become this, after these many years I will become this, after these many years I will become that. My salary at this level will be this, at that level will be this. I can be posted like this at this level. I can be posted at SDM once I become this year's senior, right? So you have clear proper structure. That structure it is being group A, group B plus that structure it is being kind of like put into place by Cornwallis. So मतलब फादर ऑफ सिविल सर्विसेज कब बोलेंगे, इस तभी बोलेंगे उस प्रकार से, ठीक है. तो ये है नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. 1833 dash lower bureaucracy that is uncovenanted CS, lower bureaucracy that is uncovenanted CS plus judicial positions opened to Indians by Charter 1833. Opened to Indians by Charter 1833. Next, 1853 dash covenanted CS opened to Indians. Covenanted CS opened to Indians as Charter 1853 prescribed exam for CS, that was open to Indians. Exam for CS that was open to Indians. In brackets 1855 first CS exam held. 1855 first CS exam held. Next, with 1857 revolt, British ensured that exam continues to be held only in London. Plus age limit was kept low. From 19 to 23. Age limit was kept low from 19 to 23. Why did they open it up? Because they are a democracy and they want to, at the same time, they want to have a narrative that liberalism ideology is there, and in the idea of liberalism, it will go against the principle of liberalism if you are not doing anything gradually to allow more opportunities for educated Indians or to allow more opportunities for Indians. So therefore that narrative is there. Public sentiments are also there. The British government wants to prove to the British public that there is morality to imperialism, that with our presence in India, see, this is how the colonies are flourishing gradually with time, that see how we are gradually civilizing the colonies people, and see now, earlier there were no Indians who were able to qualify civil services exam, but now see some Indians, and therefore some progress is taking place. So there is a narrative, right, that whatever the countries they are doing, that is something which is good, and imperialism is good. So British morality of imperialism, so the British public, it continues to support imperialism by British government. Why? Because Britain is a democracy and public sentiments, they matter. White man's burden idea is also there, right? But ultimately, Britain may public opinion matters. So therefore, if a lot of news reports, for example, Vietnam took place. I'll give you an example from modern world history. Vietnam War took place from 1961 to 1975, right? And United States of America soldiers, they entered Vietnam. Millions of soldiers, that is 10 lakh soldiers and more, they entered Vietnam, right? And then newspaper reports were published that these soldiers are using chemical gas called orange gas, right? That these people are shooting people, like Taliban videos are there, na? Right? Point blank shooting, tuck, 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 right? So therefore, hundreds of Vietnamese were put up in line and US army killed them point blank, right? So when these kind of news, napalm jelly was used, which burns you alive. So napalm jelly will be fired at you and your body will start burning alive. You will remove the napalm jelly from this hand, your hand will start burning, right? So these kind of things were done, and therefore public pressure increased on US that what are we doing, what are we doing? The US public, they started criticizing the US government that this is not how we need to behave. We are the top power of the world and this cannot be our behavior. So therefore, see the narrative when it created pressure. So Nixon decided that no more US soldiers will be going to Vietnam, plus gradually later on pull out also started from Vietnam. They lost the war. They were also, and real reason kya hai? Real reason was dead bodies were coming from Vietnam back to US. So narrative and real politics. Real reason तो ये था कि वहाँ से dead bodies वापस आ रही थी, and therefore they are like कि why our family members are dying, why our young boys are dying, क्या ऐसा वियतनाम में? So therefore that is the real reason, but narrative was also pushing the things against US. So public narrative needs to be maintained. That movie is there on Amazon Prime, which I told earlier also, I think, whereby that General Oldwyer, he said that there is still white man's burden to be fulfilled. That means they were ये narrative वो बना रहे थे that with our presence Indians are benefiting and more good work needs to be done in India. ऐसा. So that's why Britishers are such people who will not directly ban anything. They will do in a clever manner. Right. Similarly, for example, they did not want Indians to enter Canada. Right. So later on they will say that direct journey from India to Canada is not allowed. Matlab, only those Indians will be allowed to enter Canada who make a direct journey from India to Canada. फिर उन्हें क्या किया? No ships were allowed to go from India to Canada. And therefore those Indians who first traveled to Singapore and from Singapore they traveled to Canada, they were sent back to India, and this is called Komagata Maru incident 1914, which will trigger Gadar movement and all of these things. मतलब इस तरीके से होगा 1913 or something, right? So anyways, ठीक. Next point, 1860 plus pressure, 1860 plus pressure by INM leaders, INM माने Indian National Movement. 1860 plus pressure by INM leaders for Indianization of CS. 1877-80. 1877-80. Campaign in press for Indianization of CS. 1877-80. Campaign in press for Indianization of CS. Next, 1878 Lytton 7680, LYTTON, Lytton 7680. That is वो तो हो गया 1876 to 1880. Lytton 7680 brought statutory civil services, statutory CS, brought statutory STATUTORY, statutory civil services, brought statutory CS Act of 1878, Statutory Civil Services Act of 1878. First off, under statutory CS, under statutory CS, Indians could be nominated to officer rank, that is senior positions, to officer rank, that is senior position. Indians could be nominated to officer rank, that is senior position. That is senior position. But Lytton 7680 ensured that only loyal Indians are nominated. That only loyal Indians are nominated. Next, 1892 dash, ICA 1892 dash, Indian Councils Act 1892, ICA 1892 dash, Indian Councils Act 1892. Statutory CS abolished. Statutory CS abolished. Plus covenanted CS renamed to Indian CS. Covenanted CS renamed to Indian CS. Covenanted CS renamed to Indian CS. Plus uncovenanted CS reorganized to provincial CS. Uncovenanted CS reorganized to provincial CS. Provincial CS. State PCS exam होता ना, PCS, right? PCS. Next point. GOI Act 1919. GOI Act 1919. GOI 1919 लिख लो. GOI Act 19. Government of India Act 1919. Decision for simultaneous exam in India. Decision for simultaneous CS exam in India. Simultaneous CS exam in India. And first held in 1922. And first held in 1922. So UPSC exam started taking place in India in 1922, right? Began in 1855. It took 70 years roughly of requests, petitions, campaign by the educated Indians that please hold the exam in India. 70 years, after 70 years, they were so afraid of you guys becoming IAS officers, right? So that is it. Yes. अब वो तो बहुत कुछ है, वो डिस्कस करेंगे यार. राइट, सो दैट इज व्हाट इज है. नाउ ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा लिखिए. अब और भी कुछ बच गया है तो ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिखिए. रेफर टू हैंडआउट historical perspective on civil services by UPSC. Historical perspective on civil services by UPSC, right? So basically this is a PDF which is on the website of UPSC, right? So therefore just 3 pages are there, and there some points like Hutchinson commission, ये commission, some more facts they are given. बस आप इतना कर लो, इससे ज़्यादा और कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है. मतलब यूपीएससी ने जो हिस्टोरिकल पर्सपेक्टिव बता रखा है और जो हमने क्लास में बता दिया, इसके बाद और क्या तुम्हें दही निकालनी है भाई, स्पेक्ट्रम की, इसकी उसकी, बहुत हो गया है. ठीक है, इट इज़ गुड इनफ, राइट? सो दिस इज एज पर यूपीएससी व्हाट यूपीएससी वांट्स द people to know, and obviously UPSC knows that it will be UPSC aspirants who will be interested. So it is a document which is directly given by the UPSC for the aspirants, that you should know this, right? So this just 3 pages are there, right? So these things are present, right? So इसमें जैसे आप First World War वाला बोल रहे हो point, तो here it is there that it was only after the First World War and Montagu-Chelmsford reforms of 1919, right, that this was agreed to. So whenever World War took place, we'll discuss later, whenever World War took place, to get support of the Indians, the Britishers, they used to give us something, right? So Indian national movement and some international events, they also contributed to this kind of scenario. तो ये आप पढ़ लेना, ठीक है? This is your homework. ठीक है, ठीक है भाई, बहुत सारी बुक्स में 19 से 23 लिखा हुआ है, इसलिए मैंने आपको मेन स्ट्रीम बुक्स के हिसाब से 19 से 23 लिखा दिया, ठीक है? 18 भी है तो कर लो, 18 पे क्वालिफाई कर लो. क्या उम्र तुम्हारी? What is your age? You are disqualified because in many of the cases, Lytton, for example, he reduced the age from 21 to 19. Disqualify हो जाओगे ऐसे. तो इन प्रैक्टिस देखिए लीगली 18 हो सकता है, बट जब हम देखते हैं कि उन्होंने रखा क्या, तो हम बहुत बार देखते हैं दैट दे आर मूविंग इट फ्रॉम 19 टू 23. तो इसलिए हमने आपको जो इन प्रैक्टिस जहां वो एज को मूव करते थे वो हमने आपको बता दिया. रखी 18 भी जा सकती है, रखी 23 तक भी जा सकती है, मान लिया, ठीक है? आप गुस्सा ना हो, ठीक? तो ये है, ठीक है? हाय राम. नेक्स्ट हेडिंग राइट डाउन. नेक्स्ट हेडिंग राइट डाउन. सोशो रिलीजियस रिफॉर्म्स. हाँ जी, हाँ, सोशियो रिलीजियस रिफॉर्म, ये प्रॉपर टॉपिक है, अगली क्लास में ही राइटिंग करवाएंगे आपसे, बट आपको समझाएंगे थोड़ा सा. सोशियो रिलीजियस रिफॉर्म्स, सोशियो रिलीजियस रिफॉर्म्स, सोशियो रिलीजियस रिफॉर्म्स स्लैश बंगाल रिनासा स्लैश बंगाल और इंडियन, बंगाल और इंडियन रिनासा, बंगाल और इंडियन रिनासा, बंगाल और इंडियन रिनासा, राइट? सो लिखवाऊंगा उसमें, बहुत लिखवा दिया, बट समझाऊंगा, ठीक है? सो व्हेन यू आर डिस्कसिंग अबाउट फॉर एग्जांपल योर, तो मैं अपने नोट्स बना रहा हूं, आपको कुछ कॉपी करने की जरूरत नहीं है, ठीक है? आपको बाद में फोटो वोटो खींचनी हो खींच लेना, मैं आपको लिखवाऊंगा, ये वाला नहीं लिखवा रहा मैं, तो नो नीड टू कॉपी, बट जस्ट दैट आई वांट टू हैव अ स्ट्रक्चर्ड डिस्कशन. सो इस वजह से मैं रैंडमली कुछ भी बना रहा हूं, राइट? झूठ नहीं बोल रहा, यू डोंट हैव टू कॉपी इट, इट्स ओके, ठीक है? यू डोंट हैव टू कॉपी इट, राइट? तुम क्या बोरिया बिस्तर बांध लिए बे है और भागने को तैयार हो, मतलब ऐसे नहीं बैठा हुआ ये, अब अभी बैठा हो ऐसे बैग लेके. तुम्हारे जैसे लोग जो है टीचर का मनोबल डाउन कर देते हैं. रिनासा, ठीक है? तो देखिए हम तो पढ़ते हैं भाई, वी ट्राई टू स्टडी फ्रॉम सिंपल थिंग्स. सो फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन दैट कम्स इनटू आवर माइंड इज व्हाट इज द टॉपिक? Topic is socio-religious reforms. So first question that comes to mind, okay, socio and religious. Why not just social reforms and why not just religious reforms? What is this marriage socio-religious? है ना? What is this? तो ये question, some questions are coming to my mind. ध्यान से सुनना, ठीक है? मतलब later on while dictating also we'll repeat it. Right, it will be embedded, but common sense, common man के perspective से without any complexity. एक तो माइंड में आएगा, देखो आपके भी सोशो रिलीजियस ये क्या है, ठीक? सेकेंड क्वेश्चन दैट विल कम टू योर माइंड इज कि भाई ये रिनासा किस चीज क्या है भाई, ये बला रिनासा, व्हाई यू आर कॉलिंग इट रिनासा? बंगाल, इट इज अ एरिया, तो फाइन इट वुड हैव बिगन इन बंगाल. इंडिया, okay, it may had spread from Bengal to rest parts of India also, right? So that's why चलो Indian Renaissance. But ये Renaissance क्या है? And what is the linkage between Renaissance and socio-religious reforms. Why sir has used synonym that socio-religious reforms or Indian Renaissance? क्या और क्यों लग गया बीच में? How they are related? ठीक है? So first point, when you say socio-religious reforms, see in the modern times, first of all, do we know what is the meaning of the word social? Social media. So therefore, as soon as कहीं नहीं जाते, अपने आसपास ही देखते हैं, ठीक है? There is an optional called sociology, and there is an optional called psychology. Psychology is study of individual, right? Individual, right? So whenever you are even studying the society, there also your hero is individual. That is, you are trying to study what is impact on individual of parents, what is impact on individual of friends. माने कि who is the hero of your story? Individual. That is why psychology is study about individual's psyche. It is study of individual. Whereas when you study society, you are studying group behavior, study of groups, where the focus it is on group behavior, right? So what is social? As soon as I move out of my person, as soon as I interact with any other person, it becomes a social relationship. So can I say that parent-child relationship is a social relationship? Because two individuals are present. Husband-wife relationship, social relationship, two things are present. Friendship, social relationship. That is why social media. In social media, you go and make friends. In social media, the individual is talking to the world, right? It is a group, so the focus is social, socializing, right? So that is the meaning of social. Maneki, if there is marriage, if there is parent-child relationship, if there is transfer of property from father to son, it is also kind of like part of society. If there is no transfer of property from father to daughter, that is also part of society, social. It is something social. Till now we have not talked about God at all. It is all social, right? If sati pratha is taking place, that is, I do not know anything about religion, but suddenly I see that there was a social relationship between a husband and a wife. Husband died, and now the wife is made to sit alive, burn alive on the pyre or on the chitta of the husband, right? So okay, a social relationship ended, one partner died, and after that the other partner is made to burn alive, right? So this is a social ill. ये एक negative practice है and social ill, right? समाज में. We have not talked about religion at all. We have not talked about religion at all, right? Similarly, if child marriage is taking place, right? So a child is there, she is getting married. So as soon as she gets married, she is entering into a social relationship. So child marriage is a social ill. Widow remarriage is not allowed. Widow, she is an individual. She is not allowed to enter into a societal relationship with a new husband. So can we say this is a social ill, right? Polygamy, one person having multiple wives, that is also a group behavior, right? Social ill. These are social, these are negative things in our society, right? So therefore these are social reforms, but still we call them socio-religious, because the reason for these social practices rooted in religion. Social practices reason was rooted in religion. माने कि why are you doing child marriage? Because our religion says so. Why are you allowing polygamy? Because let's say religion says so, right? ऐसा भी हो सकता है, ठीक? और allows so. Why you are not allowing widow remarriage? Because religion says no widow remarriage. So therefore, when some of the beliefs in religion, wrong beliefs in religion, they led to social ills. Therefore, and India is a very religious society. Indians, they are deeply religious. Indians, they are deeply religious. That means I will do what my religion says, nothing else. That means, can I say that to change the social practice, you need to change the religion? Or you need to make the people understand that true religion does not allow for such a sati practice, that true religion allows for widow remarriage, that true religion allows for marriage after puberty, so koi zaruri nahi hai that you should do child marriage, that true religion does not allow for polygamy, that true religion does not allow for extra idol worship. That means to change the society, because the society is very religious, to change the society I need to either reinterpret religion or I have to change the aspects of religion. You are very deeply religious Hindu. I tell you, do not marry your girl child to someone else. You say, mera dharm bhashta jayega. I will become a lesser Hindu if I do not do this. But if I convince you that as per Vedas or as per other Shastras, right, child marriage is not necessary. And if I give you some examples from those scriptures that child marriage was not done by such and such and such and such God or whatever, etc., something like this, if I prove it to you, then you will say, okay, then it is fine. Right? Or if I convince you that sati is murder as per every shastra, after that you will be like, अरे तुम्हें तो बहुत पाप कर रहा था, मैं कहा, then like, there should not be any sati. I am with you. So you see, because you are a deeply religious person, because I have explained religion better to you, or I have reinterpreted the religion for you, that's how I am able to change your belief. That's why I am able to change the society. So change in religion or religious beliefs is must for social change. Therefore, socio-religious reforms. Because reason for societal problems was rooted in religion. The next aspect, Renaissance. This is borrowed from European history. Renaissance, it took place in 14th century. It began in 14th century in Europe, specifically in Italy, and then it spread to rest of Europe. Right? And there also similar problems were there. Similar kind of problems were present in the European society. The priests were very oppressive. कोई एजुकेशन नहीं था, हर जगह अंधकार ही अंधकार. पर्सन वॉज वेरी वेरी सैड. दिस बिलीफ वॉज देयर दैट पर्सन, मैन इज बॉर्न टू बी सैड, राइट? मैन इज बॉर्न टू हैव सफरिंग्स इन लाइफ, राइट? द मासेस, दे वर वेरी पुअर, इन पॉवर्टी, नो हेल्थ सर्विसेज, no education services, right? Only education that was possible was that you can become a priest. No history, no geography, no civics, no polity, nothing. All money was hoarded by the limited number of people, right? And therefore this was feudalism. This was something like feudalism which was there. वहाँ पे something happened, right? Something happened माने कुछ ऐसा हुआ that now actually क्या क्या हुआ वो हम देखेंगे. इंडिया की वजह से हुआ एक्चुअली. Italian traders, they used to trade with the East, traders from Venice and Genoa. So therefore by trading with India, Italians, they became very rich. When money came, people came to know better life is possible. And therefore this belief that we are born to suffer, it started getting evaporated in the coastal areas of Italy, because merchants, they are doing trade in the sea from there. Therefore people from the villages of Italy, they started moving towards these urban areas. They believed that life can be beautiful, life can be better, we can also become rich with power of cash, right? And therefore now they started questioning everything. Now they started questioning that why religion is so oppressive, why religion cannot be a good thing, why religion says we are born to suffer. No, we want a new religion, right? Later on they will come up with Protestant Christianity. They started questioning everything. But first, around that point of time, उनका जो first वो था, उन्हें सोचा भी अच्छा पैसा आ गया, money is there, beautiful life is possible. That is the first thing. अच्छा, were we always so sad? ऐसा तो नहीं था that we were always so sad. There was a time in the ancient times, ancient Roman civilization, it is said that people were very, very happy. Ancient Greek civilization, that people were very, very happy. So why are we so sad? Why are all of us below poverty line? So they started studying the Shastras of Greek and Romans. That is, they started researching about the ancient scriptures or ancient Greek civilization, ancient Roman civilization. That is, ये सब जो अंधकार है, ये सब जो oppression है, ये सब जो गरीबी है, all of this poverty, all of this oppression in the society of the masses, that was not there in the ancient Greek civilization, in the ancient Roman civilization, where life was good. So let us go back to the golden past. रहेंगे हम आज में ही, we'll live today only, right? But we will establish such a society where people are happy, and that is the golden past. That is the golden past, right? In the case of India also, I need to study scriptures to convince you, don't do sati. In case of India also, I need to prove with the help of scriptures that you should allow marriage after puberty of your girl child, that you should not do polygamy, right? So therefore, I am also trying to restore the golden past. That is, in the true ancient Indian civilization, all of these social ills were not present. But now they are present. पहले हम वहाँ थे, now we are here. So let us go back to the golden past. Let us study the scriptures. Let us see what the true religion says. क्या सच्चा religion actually में extra idol worship कहता है? Whether true religion actually supports extra idol worship, extra domination by the priests of the temples, extra, this focus on, extra, these things like social ills, polygamy, priestcraft, idolatry, infanticide, right? So therefore, let us go back to the golden past. वहाँ ये सब नहीं था. These things were not there, right? Casteism was not there in the ancient past. Today we have casteism, right? Not today, मतलब उसकी बात करो वहाँ की. So let us go back to the golden past. So because we also suffered from similar problems, we also tried to go back to the golden past. We also tried to study the ancient scriptures. These same things happened sometime back in Europe in 14th century. And therefore, what happens in India, it is also called as Renaissance. Why? Because what happened in Europe was called as Renaissance. The meaning of Renaissance is rebirth. So rebirth of society. We are dead. We are decayed. हम सड़ चुके हैं, हम गल चुके हैं. So much of degeneration has taken place. Casteism, child marriage, etc., etc. So therefore, हमारा rebirth as a society कैसे होगा? By going back to the golden past. तो क्योंकि वहां भी ऐसा ही हुआ और यहाँ पे भी ऐसा ही हो रहा है, तो वहां वाले को Renaissance बोला. So this one is also called Renaissance, right? That is the idea. And you know what is the hope? Second thing they focused on there, then they started focusing on logic. So initially to they looked only at the ancient scriptures. After that they started focusing on logic. That is, they started questioning everything, right? They started questioning everything. Give me proof that God wants me to suffer. You, priest of church, you are saying when I come to you and I say that I am BPL, below poverty line, okay? I am BPL, that I am being oppressed, right? So therefore, why you are telling me that I am born to suffer, right? Where it is written? Tell me, give me proof. Give me live proof that God wants me to suffer. ये सामने जीसस क्राइस्ट है, अब इनका मुंह खुलवाओ, बताओ मुझे प्रूफ चाहिए. ठीक, क्वेश्चन करनी नहीं, तुम मुझे यही बताओ, वेयर इज गॉड? गिव मी प्रूफ, लॉजिक. वेयर इज गॉड? गिव मी प्रूफ. I will accept only that thing which is logical. Why? Because this whole nature, this belief developed that this whole nature works on logic, and whatever is logical is good, right? So you tell me that in the domain of economy, why should the common man not have any property? Why should the common man not have right to property? You tell me, what is the logic? What is the logic that all the wealth, it should be with some people, and all of us, we should not have no right, no freedom of enterprise? that gave birth to capitalism. That gave birth to capitalism. The questions, the application of logic in the domain of religion. ये मैं आपको वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री पढ़ा रहा हूँ एक्चुअली, तो ये सब बोनस है. When they applied logic, they rejected Catholic Christianity and they came up with Protestant Christianity. Protestant Christianity, right? When they applied, in 14th century, their focus was what? Happiness of man, and therefore there was focus on art and culture. Going back to scriptures and focus on art also. For example, for the first time, Jesus and Mary were painted as human beings. कि हमें आदमी, एक इंसान की खुशी देखनी है हमें. We want individual to be happy. Happiness became the goal. Happiness became the goal, right? That is why US, etc., Western society, they are called very individualistic society, because they focus on happiness of individual. Portrait mode, portrait mode, portrait mode. ये तो इसमें आया. Portrait mode of painting began for the first time as part of Renaissance here. वो एक फोटो आपने देखी है, एक ऐसे एक पेंटिंग बनी हुई है, ठीक, एक ऐसे पेंटिंग बनी है, बड़े सारे हाथ बने हुए हैं ऐसे, ठीक है, एक यूरोपियन पेंटिंग है, पता नहीं जो भी नाम है, माइकल एंजेलो ने बनाई है, जिसने बनाई है, ठीक है, और ऐसे अंदर के बॉडी पार्ट्स दिख रहे हैं, एक ऐसे मशीन टाइप का मैन सा बना हुआ है, अंदर सारे बॉडी पार्ट्स दिख रहे हैं, A to Z. फोकस ऑन मैन. हमें जानना है इस आदमी के अंदर है क्या. फोकस ऑन मैन. पोर्ट्रेट मोड, लोग ऐसे खड़े होकर फोटो खिंचवा रहे हैं. वाई? फोकस ऑन मैन. Each individual started getting celebrated in the culture. Portrait mode. Focus on individual happiness. When they started applying logic in the domain of economy, they came out with capitalism. That is freedom to every individual to be rich. When they applied logic in the domain of polity, they started questioning. Just because you are born in a family, तू राजा होना चाहिए. Why? Why? Just because you are born in a family, you should be king. ये क्या लॉजिक है? राजा को गधा पैदा हो जाए तो है, गधा विल रूल अस. व्हाट इज द लॉजिक? ये क्या है? व्हाई शुड नॉट ईच इंडिविजुअल हैव सम पावर? सो व्हेन दे स्टार्टेड क्वेश्चनिंग, इट गिव बर्थ टू democracy, which is part of basically when you study this is called enlightenment ideas. So all the polity syllabus is about, all the constitution of India is about enlightenment idea. Separation of power, no concentration of power, devolution of power, federalism, DPSPs, fundamental rights, right to property, no discrimination, etc., etc. All is no taxation without representation. ये सारी enlightenment. When they started, और क्या रह गया? Religion, economic, polity. When they started questioning everything in the domain of science. ये धरती क्या है? So earlier church was the only repository of knowledge. So they used to ask the priest, what is this earth? The priest used to say the earth is flat. Church used to say earth is flat. कह रहे कैसे? कह चलते रहो. Keep walking. Did you fall? No, earth is flat. Hence proved. The church used to say that earth is at the center of the universe and sun revolves around the earth. Geocentric theory. लोगों ने कैसे? क्या खड़े हो जाएगा? At 6 a.m. stand up. Suryoday has taken. Don't move. हिलना नहीं. You have not moved. हाँ. Now see the earth. Sun is moving. You are not moving. That means sun is revolving around you. You are on earth. Earth which is flat. Therefore, sun hence proved. Right. So they are like भी ये तो बड़े सिंपलिस्टिक से प्रूफ्स हैं. और ये सर्दी क्यों होती है? समर्स क्यों आती हैं? Why summers are there? Why rains are there? Etc. etc. Why humans die? Right? ये खून क्या है? ये हाथ कटता है तो what is this blood? What is the use of this blood? Right? What is the purpose of this nose? These eyes? क्या है ये सब system? All of these things they led to scientific revolution. They led to scientific revolution. Developments in biology, medical sciences, blood flow, body parts, they are identified. Development in geography. That is, these people, see, they are able to travel after 1453. They are able to travel. They are able to find the northwest trade route to the east. So that finding of compass, astrolabe, all of that is part of scientific revolution. Newton three laws of motion, etc. ये सेब ऊपर से नीचे क्यों गिरा? Question everything. Question everything. Right. So therefore, all of this, you see, Renaissance therefore is the mother of all the development that took place in the West. And I have studied all of these things. Why? Because I am Western educated Indian. I am from upper caste, I am a Hindu upper caste who has money, who comes from family of landlords, and I have studied all of these things. The Britishers, they wanted to create a brown sahib from me. Right? They wanted to colonize my mind. They wanted to tell me how great they are. And therefore, I am now a social reformer, and I also want to apply logic, because I know that if logic is there in this society, right, then so many things can take place. So therefore, these social religious reformers, they promoted not just social reforms, they also promoted sciences, right. So on that note, we end today's class. In the next class, we'll be beginning with the dictation part of the and some of these aspects. ये तो मतलब bonus था. We'll begin with social religious reforms.